We unite leading scientists in the Greater Bay Area to drive scientific and technological innovation. We build international platforms to foster cross-disciplinary exchange and collaboration. We offer advisory support to the government's policymaking process. Together, we can contribute to our nation's technological advancement and shape a brighter future for humanity. To our nation's technological advancement and shape a brighter future for humanity.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. A very warm welcome to the second Global Innovation and Technology Summit, proudly hosted by the Greater Bay Area Association of Academicians, GBAAA. My name is Patricia Yang, and it's my absolute honor to serve as your MC today. Let's hear a big round of applause to welcome everyone joining us, shall we? Thank you. The GBAAA takes immense pride in presenting this summit. We're honored to be joined by esteemed university presidents and senior government officials from Hong Kong, the Chinese mainland, and overseas. Together, we'll embark on a journey to envision the future of education, global partnerships, and innovation within the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area. With collective aspirations, we strive to cultivate Hong Kong into a thriving international hub for innovation and education. Without further ado, please first allow me to introduce our distinguished guests joining us today. 现在，请允许我为大家介绍一下今天莅临现场的重要嘉宾 ：Ms. Xining Lu, Deputy Director, the Liaison Office of the Central People's Government in the Hong Kong SAR， 中央人民政府驻香港特别行政区联络办公室副主任卢欣宁女士 ；Mr. Syasat Nurbek, Minister of Science and Higher Education of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Mr. Jianming Fang, Deputy Commissioner, Office of the Commissioner of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the People's Republic of China in the Hong Kong SAR， 中国外交部驻香港公署副特派员方建明先生。Professor Dong Sun, Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry, the Government of the Hong Kong SAR. Professor Nancy Y. Yip, Council Chair, the Greater Bay Area Association of Academicians, President of the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Professor Jin Guangtang, Council Vice Chair, the Greater Bay Area Association of Academicians, President of the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. Professor Qi Huanggong, President, Peking University. Professor Ng Chi Tan, President, National University of Singapore. Professor Tony Chan, President, King Abdullah University of Science and Technology. Professor Yonghua Song, Rector, University of Macau. Mr. Wei Ming Wang, Director General, the Department of Education and Scientific and Technological Affairs of the Liaison Office of the Central People's Government in the Hong Kong SAR. Professor Kiyotaka Hoshinaga, Chairman of the Board of Directors of Fujita Academy. Professor Yukio Yuzawa, President, Fujita Health University. Mr. Jeff Chen-Fai Si, Acting Secretary for Education, Under Secretary for Education, the Government of the Hong Kong SAR. Professor Alex Wai, President and Vice Chancellor, Hong Kong Baptist University. Professor S. Zhou Qi, President, Lingnan University. Mr. Elmaz Satakinov, Consul General, Republic of Kazakhstan in Hong Kong and Macau. Professor C.C. Chan, Council Member of the Greater Bay Area Association of Academicians, Member of the Chinese Academy of Engineering. Professor Vivian Wenghua Yam, Council Member of the Greater Bay Area Association of Academicians, Member of the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Next, please also welcome Mr. Aditech Y. Mak, Permanent Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry, the Government of the Hong Kong SAR. Mr. Abibekov Elbolat, Director, International Cooperation Department, Ministry of Science and Higher Education, Republic of Kazakhstan. Professor Li Jin, Vice President, Global Strategies, Southern University of Science and Technology. Mr. Ivan Kwopen Lee, Commissioner for Innovation and Technology, the Government of the Hong Kong SAR. Professor Chen Xing Li, Provost and Deputy President, the City University of Hong Kong. Professor Kam Fai Wong, Member of the Legislative Council of the Government of the Hong Kong SAR. Mr. Hendrik Sin, Member of Research Grants Council, please welcome. Professor Nakao Iwata, Vice President and Dean of the School of Medicine, Fujita Health University. Mr. Yulin Chen, Director, the Department of Education and Scientific and Technological Affairs of the Liaison Office of the Central People's Government in the Hong Kong SAR. Professor Chetwin Chan, Vice President, Research and Development, the Education University of Hong Kong. Mr. Tan Tian, Director of the Hong Kong Institute of Science and Innovation, Chinese Academy of Sciences General Office. Please welcome Mr. Tan Tian. Professor Ray C.C. Cheung, Chairman of the Standing Committee of Hong Kong STEM Education Alliance. Once again, our heartfelt gratitude to all of our guests and also members from various sectors of the society who have shown support to this event. We would also like to extend our thanks to the Innovation and Technology Commission and the Hong Kong Institute of Innovation and Technology of the Chinese Academy of Sciences for their sponsorship and support to the summit. Let's hear another big round of applause for all the support from different guests and also organizations, please. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Professor Nancy Y. Yip, the Council Chair of the Greater Bay Area Association of Academicians and President of the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, to deliver a welcome speech. Please welcome Professor Yip.
尊敬的卢新林副主任、方建明副特派员、孙东局长、施俊辉副局長, the Honorable Mr. Saisat Nuremberg, distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everyone. As the Council Chair of the Greater Bay Area Association of Academicians, it is indeed my great pleasure to welcome you all to the second Global Innovation and Technology Summit. 在这里，我谨代表粤港澳大湾区院士联盟，欢迎大家参加第二届大湾区国际科创峰会，也借此机会向中联办、外交部、驻港公署、香港创新科技及工业局、香港教育局等众多机构给予的支持，表示衷心的感谢。I'm delighted to greet all of you here in person, given that our inaugural summit that was held in 2022, in which many of our speakers had to join remotely due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we have the opportunity to engage, exchange ideas, and collaborate in a shared physical space, an experience we have all missed and do value greatly. I especially want to welcome our honored guests for taking time out of their busy schedule to join us, and all of our esteemed speakers and panelists, some of whom have traveled far to join us today. Earlier this year in January, I attended the Winter Davos with the theme Rebuilding Trust, the event sought to address the erosion of trust across societies and among countries due to a series of major crises, including the COVID-19 pandemic. The objective is to foster greater dialogue, cooperation, and collaboration to rebuild connections between individuals, organizations, and governments, while also laying a strong groundwork for a more cohesive, resilient, and trustworthy global community. At the Greater Bay Area Association of Academicians, we believe a similar approach would be beneficial in higher education. The association was established 3 years ago to bring together brilliant minds from diverse institutions in the Greater Bay Area to exchange ideas, forge partnerships, promote science education, and ignite innovation, while also driving the development of the Greater Bay Area into a leading innovation and technology hub. The theme of our summit today is Connecting to Excellence. In this post-COVID-19 era, it is extremely important that we all come together and connect to excellence in education, research, and innovation to harness the power of higher education in order to empower a brighter future. We have an exciting program for you today, and the topics that we'll be discussing, from government strategies to leadership perspectives on the future of education, are all vital in advancing education and research innovation and shaping a vibrant learning landscape. We are very fortunate to have distinguished speakers and panelists that include senior government officials and university leaders to provide their invaluable perspectives and insights. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude to the organizing committee, in particular, Professor Teng Jingguang, whose investment of time and efforts really was pivotal to making this event successful. I would also like to thank each and every one of you for joining us today, because advancing and shaping the nation's education landscape really requires dialogue and engagement from both within and beyond the academic circles. Your attendance today is an important step in inspiring action. I believe with your support and participation, we can cement Hong Kong's status as a center for higher learning and progress, while also positioning the Greater Bay Area as a prominent international hub for innovation and technology. 我非常期待接下来几位嘉宾的发言，去学习和认识高等教育在新时代可以发挥的重要作用。再次感谢大家来参加这个会议，感谢大家 ，Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Yip, for your warm and welcoming remarks. Thank you. Please be seated. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming on stage Mr. Jianming Fang, Deputy Commissioner of the Office of the Commissioner of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the People's Republic of China in the Hong Kong SAR, as he shares his opening remarks with us. 掌声有请中国外交部驻香港公署副特派员方建明先生。
尊敬的罗新尼副主任，尊敬的罗尔别克部长，尊敬的申东局长、施敬辉副局长，尊敬的叶月如主席、滕景光副主席，各位嘉宾、女士们、先生们、朋友们，大家上午好！ 很高兴受邀出席此次峰会，与大家相聚在美丽的湘江之畔。感谢粤港澳大湾区院士联盟举办此次峰会，为大家提供了一个分享真知灼见、碰撞思想火花、凝聚合作共识的重要平台。在前不久顺利闭幕的全国两会上，新质生产力成为各界关注的热词。习近平主席多次就新质生产力做出深刻阐述和重要部署，强调要按照发展新质生产力的要求，畅通教育、科技、人才的良性循环。经济靠科技，科技靠人才，人才靠教育。只有推进教育、科技、人才三位一体协同融合发展，才能为经济发展提供持续不竭的动力。本次峰会以迈向卓越为主题，聚焦教育与科技创新深度融合，探讨如何培养具有创新思维和能力的优秀人才。这对于香港加快形成新质生产力，更好融入国家发展大局，助力推进中国的现代化，具有重要的现实意义。各位嘉宾，各位朋友，香港既有三大中心的传统优势和多元融合的文化优势，更有一国两制的独特制度优势和背靠祖国、联通世界的双向开放优势，在推动科技创新、汇聚全球人才、开展教育合作等方面大有走，可谓大有作为。借此机会我愿同各位教育科技界同仁分享3点看法。一是勇担国家科技创新的新使命，科技是第一生产力，创新是第一动力。在百年变局加速演进的背景下，只有增强原始创新，突破更多颠覆性技术和前沿技术，才能真正实现科技自立自强。香港有5所大学跻身全球100强，基础科研体系完备，国际学术联系紧密，知识产权制度健全，有能力也有责任助力国家攻克重要领域的卡脖子技术，以科技创新推动产业创新，促进新质生产力的形成发展。大湾区院士联盟都是科技教育界的杰出人才，有优异的专业知识，相信院士联盟将充分发挥谋范带头和科技领军作用，引领香港科创界在建设国家科创中心的道路上全速前行。第二是打造全球人才汇聚的新高地。人才是第一资源，创新的根本在于人才。香港拥有大量高水准的国际化、专业化服务机构和人才团队，在金融、法律、会计、科创、咨询管理等领域具有显著优势。面对全球日益激烈的人才竞争，香港正以更加精准的优待政策、更加坚实的产业基础和更加多元的科研平台，增强对人才的吸引力和接纳力，进一步提升人才竞争力。相信院士联盟将充分发挥自身的优势，利用香港这一国际化平台，为国家引才、留才、输才，促进香港同内地科创人才的双向流动，同国家的发展战略需求对接起来，让人才成为推动科技创新的强大动力。第三是书写国际教育合作的新篇章。教育是基础， 高等教育是科技创新、人才培养的关键所在。一直以来，香港教育样态多元，活力十足，国际化水准位居世界权力，尤其是高等教育享誉全球，吸引了来自世界各地的教育专家和学生。相信粤士联盟将进一步发挥香港教育国际化优势，促进中西文化交融与互补，培养更多具有家国情怀、全球视野和创新能力的人才，更好服务教育强国、科技强国、人才强国建设。此次峰会汇聚来自不同国家和地区教育界、科创界的重量级嘉宾，大家在一起畅所欲言，交流思想，建言献策，必将为建设大湾区国际教育中心、共绘科教融合发展蓝图，携手创造美好未来，集聚更多智慧，助力新的动力。外交部驻港公署始终践行外交惠港，全力支持特区扩大对外交往与合作，充分发挥自身优势，积极参与大湾区和“一带一路”建设，为香港深化科教融合、推动创新发展不懈努力。我们相信，大湾区院士联盟定能抓住国家构建新发展格局、推动高质量发展、发展新热生产力的历史性机遇，积极主动作为，在服务强国建设、民族复兴中做出新贡献，实现新飞跃，创造新辉煌。最后预祝本次大湾区国际科创峰会取得圆满成功。谢谢大家。
非常感谢方先生的致辞，谢谢。Thank you again to Mr. Fang for the insightful remarks. Now let's welcome on stage Professor Dong Sen, Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry, the Government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, for his opening remarks. Please welcome.
尊敬的卢新宁副主任、方建明副特派员 Mr. Norbeck, Professor Nancy Yip, Professor Teng, distinguished speakers and guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my honor to join you all today at the second Global Innovation and Technology Summit. So first of all, I would like to extend my appreciation to the Great Bay Area Association of Academicians for organizing this summit again. So this event will provide exciting opportunities for government officials, university presidents, and academic staff from local and overseas universities to engage in inspiring dialogue, explore collaboration opportunities, and share valuable insights towards achieving multilateral education goals and advancing educational and research innovation. It was emphasized in the work report of the 20th National Congress that science and technology should continue to constitute the primary productive force of our country, with talent as the primary resource and innovation as the primary driving force. Our country should implement strategies to promote national prosperity through science and technology education, nurture a rich talent pool, and drive high-quality development through innovation. Homing to 5 world top 100 universities and the numerous world-class experts and scholars in Hong Kong, we actually have access to the best resources available, forming a solid foundation and network for our journey to become an international innovation and technology hub. To realize this goal, fostering collaborative efforts among the government, academia, and research sectors is of utmost importance for all of us. I'm delighted to witness how today's event will bring us together, facilitate the exchange of ideas and the collaborative efforts towards achieving our shared objectives. Young people are Hong Kong's future. The National 14th Five-Year Plan clearly supports Hong Kong's development into an international I&T center. And it is crucial to acknowledge that active participation of universities in grooming R&D personnel and their contribution to the talent pool and I&T ecosystem holds significant importance to achieving this plan. The government has been very proactive recently in its efforts to nurture I&T talent and enlarge the local talent pool. Now I would like to share some notable examples that highlight these initiatives. The first example is a STEM internship scheme. This scheme aims to encourage university students to participate in the I&T-related work during their studies, such that many of the students can pursue the career of the I&T field after their graduation, and therefore enlarge the local talent pool. Another example is so-called Research Talent Hub that was launched a few years ago with an aim to nurture and bring together many technology talent through very effective subsidy program and eventually encourage the students to pursue a career in I&T field and eventually enlarge the I&T talent pool in Hong Kong. To further accelerate the expansion of the talent pool, the Technology Talent Admission Scheme was also introduced to provide a fast-track arrangement for those eligible companies to admit mainland China and overseas technology talents, in particular young talents, to come to Hong Kong to undertake the R&D work. The government, indeed, has also been providing stable resources for universities to conduct R&D activities, as well as supporting the commercialization of its outcome. For example, in this year's budget announcement, we have doubled the maximum funding support to the technology transfer office of each of the 8 UGC supported companies to 16 million per year in order to strengthen the technology transfer and market services. Another example is that we will provide each designated university with an annual subsidy program of 16 million under the so-called Technology Startup Support Scheme for Universities, TISHU in short, okay, to support the startup development, okay. Therefore to provide more job opportunities for our young talents. Another well-known example is RISC+, means Research Academia Industry 1+ scheme, okay, which was launched in October last year. This program aimed to promote one-to-N transformation, okay, therefore to encourage the commercialization, technology transfer of university research outcomes. I'm pleased to tell you that the evaluation of the first batch of the proposals have been completed last week. And we have recommended about 20 proposals for the next process. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, higher education institutions are the cradle of innovation technology, as well as a key force for scientific research. The government will continue its unwavering support to promote higher education, placing utmost importance on effective communication with stakeholders, and fostering the growth of exceptional innovation and technology talents, all for the betterment of society as a whole. I hope that today's discussion and exchanges serve as valuable takeaway for all of us. Together, we have the power to share a future where collaborative efforts drive advancement in IT sectors. Finally, may I wish all of you a rewarding and fruitful exchanges in the following time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Sun. Please be seated. Thank you. Now, before we proceed to our exciting program today, we would love to capture this momentous occasion by taking a group photo with everyone joining us today. So our photographers will be coming to the stage for taking this photo. Please have your smiles ready, and we'll take this photo together. 在我们开始今天的丰富内容之前，我们想要跟大家来一张全场的大合照。那现在呢，摄影师会来到台上为我们拍这张的全场大合照，那大家就准备好你们的笑容。So we'll take a few photos, so please have your smiles ready and hold for several moments. Okay, when you're ready, please smile for the cameras at the center. 我们一起来看看中间的摄影师，看看台上的摄影的镜头。And please hold, we'll take a few more. 好，我们台上的摄影师，如果已经拍到现场的画面，给我一个手势，我们多来一张的，可以了吗？好，我们多来一张。Now let's take one more with our thumbs up to really commemorate this moment. Let's do that together. 我们来一个点赞的手势的好吗？我们多来一张，请我们台上的摄影师们准备。Okay, why don't we be more energetic? And I'll do a count, and let's put our thumbs up together. Ready? 3, 2, 1, cheers! That's wonderful. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for participating in this group photo session. Thank you. 谢谢各位的配合。And now we're going to invite the following guests to join us on stage for a photo session. 现在我们将会邀请以下的嘉宾移步台上进行合照。首先有请卢心宁女士 ，Miss Xin-Ning Lu, please join us on stage. 掌声欢迎。Next, please welcome Mr. Syasat Nurbeck. Mr. 简明坊方建明先生，有请。Professor Dong Sun. Please welcome our guests on stage. Professor Nancy Yip, please welcome. Next, may we invite Professor Jin Guangtang, Professor Qi Huanggong, Professor Nguyen Chi Tan, Professor Tony Chan, Professor Yonghua Song, Professor Wei Min Wang, Professor Kiyotaka Hoshinaga, Professor Yukio Yuzawa, Mr. Jeff Chen-Fai-Si, Professor Alex Wai, and Professor S. Zhou Qin. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put your hands together to welcome all of our distinguished guests here on the stage. 我们再一次掌声欢迎台上的各位重要嘉宾，好吗？ Okay, first we would like to invite our guests to smile for the cameras at the front, towards the center, please. 我们请台上的各位嘉宾看一下中间的镜头，保持微笑，我们会多来几张的。 让我们的大会摄影师还有媒体朋友也可以拍到今天这么重要的画面。好，请看一下中间的摄影师 ，Please smile for the cameras at the center. Our photographer at the center, please. 好的，我们多来一张点赞的 ，Please also have your thumbs up, and we'll take one more photo. Please hold and smile for the camera at the center. Please hold. 好，摄影师拍到的话，给我一个手势。好，请各位来宾继续留步台上。Please remain on stage. Now we would like to invite the following guests to join us on stage as well. Please welcome Mr. Almas Sakitunov. Please welcome. Next, may we invite Professor C.C. Chan. Professor Vivian Wenghua Yam. Please welcome. Next, we would like to invite Mr. Eddie Tagwai Mack. Mr. Abibekov Albulat. Professor Li Jin. Mr. Ivan Kwokban Lee. Professor Chung Seng Lee. Professor Kanfai Wong. Mr. Hendrik Sin. Professor Nakao Iwata. Mr. Yulin Chen, Chen Yulin 先生. Professor Chetwin Chan. Mr. Tian Tian. Professor Ray C.C. Zhang. Professor Christopher Chow, Vice President, Research and Innovation, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. Mr. Xu Hoishan, President, Beijing Hong Kong Academic Exchange Center. Professor Qiao Zhonghua, Professor and RGC Research Fellow, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. Mr. Elaine Ru, Senior Manager of the Office of Mainland Affairs, the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Let's put our hands together once again to welcome all of our guests here on the stage. 我们再一次掌声欢迎台上的各位嘉宾。好，台上的各位嘉宾，请看一下中间的镜头，我们会来几张合照。好，我们后排的嘉宾可以往你们的左边移步一点点。好，可以的话，把你们的名牌放在外套的里面，我们拍到一个更好的画面。Okay, if you could, please have your badges inside of your blazers or your jackets so that we can have a perfect photo. All right, when our guests are ready, please smile for the cameras at the center. 我们再一次看一下中间前方的镜头，保持微笑，多来几张。Please hold, and we will take a few photos. Okay, and now let's take one more with a thumbs up to commemorate this moment. And today we're going to learn from all these leaders and experts who will take us on a journey to envision the future of education and innovation. All right, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. 再一次感谢台上的各位嘉宾，可以先移步到台下就坐，谢谢。Please return to the comfort of your seats and be ready for our next session. Thank you very much once again for joining us for this photo session. We're so honored by the presence of all of you. Thank you very much for being here. Now we'll proceed to our keynote session of the day. Today's keynote session centers around the theme, Government Strategies to Accelerate Global Educational Partnerships. We're privileged to host senior educational officials from mainland China, senior officials from mainland China, Kazakhstan, and Hong Kong, who will share their invaluable insights on education and global partnerships. China's Belt and Road Initiative celebrated its 10th anniversary this year. In addition to infrastructural projects, higher education is a vital component of this initiative. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's extend a warm welcome to our first keynote speaker, Mr. Sayasat Nurbek, Minister of Science and Higher Education of the Republic of Kazakhstan, who delivered a keynote speech titled Reviving the Silk Road Through Education, Kazakhstan's Role in Building the Middle Corridor. Please welcome Mr. Nurbek.
Good morning, Your Excellencies, and let me start with big thanks to Hong Kong, Greater Bay Area Association of Academicians, and personally to Madam Nancy Ip for kind invitation. I'm standing today to give you some comments on what's happening in the middle of the Eurasian continent, why Kazakhstan is important for Belt and Road initiatives, and how can we add value to educational and research dimension of that huge project, connecting Asia and Europe, nurturing that vision that humankind had for many centuries in closing large markets together, connecting cultures, connecting economies, and creating this big transition, big pathway for interchanging and exchanging ideas, technologies, innovation. Kazakhstan is a landlocked country, which gives us a lot of disadvantages. We don't have any access to seas, and we are the largest landlocked country, by the way. But it has its own advantages as well. We're right in the middle, and for Belt and Road Initiative, many experts call Kazakhstan the buckle of the belt. We're right in the middle. We're the connecting tissue, and we are bordering, some might call it a complex neighborhood, but we are bordering both with China and Russia. We have the largest, one of the longest borders with Russia, 7,500 kilometers. We also have access to Caspian Sea, and we're now working really, really tight with countries in Caucasus and Turkey to connect Caspian Sea to Black Sea and then to European markets, what is now called the Middle Corridor. And you will be hearing that notion more and more frequently, Trans-Caspian Middle Corridor. So that gives us some advantages, and we are now adding new dimension to logistics and transportation is research and academia. But let me give you just quick facts about Kazakhstan. We are 9th largest country in the world with a territory of 2.7 square kilometers, quite a large country. Diverse population, about 20 million. We're very scarce. I mean, in terms of density of population, it's a large country with small population, but quite diverse. 130 ethnic groups living in Kazakhstan very peacefully. We have Koreans, we have Russians, Ukrainians, we have a lot of people. Well, thanks to our historical background, we used to be part of Soviet Union. And in 1930s, Stalin's times, Kazakhstan used to be called prison of nations. They would exile a lot of ethnic groups to Kazakhstan. It was cold, it was big, not densely populated. We are the largest economy in our region, accounting to more than 60% of the regional GDP. We are the region's highest GDP per capita. If you look at the large indicators, more than almost $500 billion in foreign direct investments, $250 billion in GDP, and we have a very ambitious plan now to double our GDP in 5 years' time and bring it to $500 billion. So there are several reasons to look closer to our region, look closer to Central Asia. One is strategic access to major markets. I mean, we are right in the middle. If you set up any operation in Kazakhstan or Central Asia, you are equally distant both from Asian markets and European markets. And just to give you an example, Svevind, a German-Swedish company, was tasked by German government to open a green hydrogen production in North Africa. You know, European Union has a new strategy now, which was adopted last year, in the end of last year, on green hydrogen production. So they would use Southern European countries like Spain and Italy and their partners in North Africa to produce a lot of green hydrogen. But this company disobeyed its government. Can you imagine a German company disobeying German government? And they came to Kazakhstan, so they're setting up a large green hydrogen production, 50 gigawatt equivalent in west of Kazakhstan, in the city of Aktau, right on the shore of Caspian Sea. And the reason, the rationale behind that was like, well, we're going to be in the middle, we're going to be in the buckle of the belt and produce a lot of green hydrogen because they have all the personnel we need, we have all the natural and alternative energy resources we need, and we have full government support in Kazakhstan, so I'll be in the middle. And I'll be producing this green hydrogen and transporting it both to Asian market, emerging Asian markets, and I know South Korea and Japan, and People's Republic of China have separate strategies, alternative strategies on hydrogen. And hydrogen is becoming this really emerging, interesting alternative source of energy. So strategic access to major markets. And then Russia and Central Asia, India are large emerging markets as well. And the global economy, as we speak, is disrupting. I mean, we used to have this huge supply chain markets, supply chain, value-added chain markets, but not anymore. There's a more regional approach. So if you want to be right in the middle of these strategic access to markets, Kazakhstan is country to watch. Second big rationale is abundant natural resources. Our country is blessed with all kinds of resources. We're #1 in uranium production in the world, we produce more uranium than Russia, Australia, or Canada, major players. We are very abundant in rare earth metals. That's another big reason. And you know how they call rare earth metals now? They call them critical metals. They're quite critical now for any high-tech industry, be it space engineering, be it new materials, be it battery production. So we are quite high on our reserves of rare earth metals. We are one of the leaders in certain rare earth metals like vanadium, rhenium, titanium. One of the largest titanium producing plants back in the Soviet Union. It was in east of Kazakhstan, where I come from, city of Özkemen. There's a funny story connected to that, but we won't have time for that. So apart from natural resources, we also have abundance of land and wind and sun. So alternative energy is another good point. So that Slovene company, they carefully examined the market and said, okay, we'll be setting up a lot of windmills, 1,500 windmills to produce green hydrogen. So water is there, the Caspian Sea, and very strong winds. And some of you who visited Kazakhstan know it's a cold country with very strong winds. The third rationale is business friendly. We're making our best to create the business-friendly environment by eliminating regulatory limitations, by creating a favorable legislative framework, by creating Astana International Financial Center, which was copy-pasted from DIFC, Dubai International Financial Center. I used to serve as member of the board, the managing director of that center. So we brought British law. So we have a territory, a specially designated territory, run on principles of British law and English law. So any company can come to Kazakhstan, become a member of AIFC, and run its business as usual based on British law. We have International Arbitration Court run by British judges and arbiters. The court of AIFC, the chairman of the court is former chairman of the High Court of UK. So we have a legislative environment and regulatory framework based on international standards. The companies or any educational institutions, we made a special case for educational institutions. They don't have to comply with local regulatory framework. We issue a license still, but it's business as usual. Any company keeps its normal business procedures, admission policies, academic policies, HR policies. We made it as flexible as possible to have more companies and educational institutions to come to the region. And the last reason, the last rationale is human capital. And Madam Nancy Ip knows really well the quality of human capital. She was the one to come to Kazakhstan almost 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, and start recruiting Kazakh high school graduates. So we have a large community of students in any Hong Kong university, be it Hong Kong PolyU, be it Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, Chinese University of Hong Kong, City University of Hong Kong has a large number of Kazakh students, fluent in English, good academic background. There are not many things we're thankful to Soviet Union, but there are a couple of. One is good education. We have solid education, math, STEM, chemistry, biology, physics. We have some 100-year-old solid research universities, which we're now taking to the next level, to research-intensive universities. So human capital is there. We have a government scholarship program called Bolosha. So we are sending our best and brightest, about 15,000 of them, to the best universities in the world. Now, the last big argument I have for any education institution to look closer to our region is demographics. So if you look at this region, which used to be called Greater Eurasia region, former Soviet Union, Central Asia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, there are more than 2 billion people living in this area. And demographics have exploded. More than half of these people, 2 billion population, are young people under age of 25. Kazakhstan only, we have 400,000 babies born annually on average. Uzbekistan, 1 million babies. India, 60,000 daily. Imagine a small town born daily. There are 1,200,000 schools, primary schools in India only, and 650 million young people. So that creates huge demand for education, and specifically for higher education. There's a saying in India, it's easier to get to MIT than to IIT, Indian Institute of Technology, because the demand and competition is so fierce. We enjoy about 50 to 60,000 of Indian students coming to Kazakhstan because they can't get proper access back home. And there's an interesting historic connection. Back in Soviet times, Soviet time was in very good terms with India. And a lot of students from India would come to Russia, to Moscow, St. Petersburg. It used to be called Leningrad back then, the city of Lenin. Kiev, and Kazakhstan. Back in 1955, the first Prime Minister of India visited Almaty, our former capital. We were part of Soviet Union back then. That's first Secretary General of Communist Party of Kazakh Socialist Soviet Republic, His Excellency Kunaev. He was welcoming Jawaharlal Nehru and Indira Gandhi. Indira is a very popular girl's name in Kazakhstan because they came to Almaty. Everybody was fascinated with Indira Gandhi, and it became the most popular girl's name in Kazakhstan. So if you come to Kazakhstan, you'll find a lot of Indiras, a lot of women who are called Indira. And then why did you? And they would not know that, but it's thanks to that historic visit. And thanks to that Soviet thing, diplomas, higher education diplomas, Russian and Kazakh, are still acknowledged by Ministry of Education of India. So we have a lot of students coming from Pakistan and Bangladesh and India, mostly for medicine and engineering. Now, let me really quickly summarize what we're trying to do in Kazakhstan. How do we use that complex situation we have in the region? Winston Churchill said once, never let a good crisis to expire. So we try to position Kazakhstan in 3 dimensions. We call it 3M strategy. There's a stationery company called 3M, nothing to do with it. So 3M strategy, the first M is middle power. I'm a political scientist by training. You can tell it from my accent, American college trained. And the middle power concept is a very popular concept back in Cold War times. We had global powers, Soviet Union, United States, but countries like Canada, like France, European countries, Australia said, hey, we are middle powers. We have a say, in certain issues like environment, like human rights. There's big powers, but then there are middle powers. So now, last 20, 30 years, there are new middle powers emerging. A good case would be South Korea. They're very smart. They use their soft power, K-pop, Blackpink, K-pop, cuisine, cinematography, the Parasites, the very first movie, non-English foreign movie to get the Best Picture, the Oscar Awards, Academy Awards. And now a lot of the Qataris is another good example. Qatar, Turkey is this emerging regional middle power. So for our region, we think Kazakhstan can have and can be that middle power. Middle corridor, so enhancing connectivity. We're crucial, we're buckle of the belt, we're working really hard to make that middle corridor happen and bring that new power of connectivity to Belt and Road Initiative. And middle way. Given that situation, complex situation we have in the region, where Russia and Ukraine used to be academic mobility hubs, but they can't anymore. I mean, you can't do any education in Ukraine for the moment, unfortunately. It's very tragic. And Russia is out of Bologna process, so a lot of students looking for alternatives. Where should I go? I mean, I prefer not to go to Russia. I can't go to Ukraine anymore. So we try to position Kazakhstan as this new academic mobility and research hub of the region. So connectivity, the middle corridor is very important. We are working really closely with Government of People's Republic of China. Our president, His Excellency Tokayev, is a Soviet-trained diplomat who served in Beijing during Soviet times as second secretary. And he's fluent in Chinese, in Mandarin. He graduated from Beijing University of Languages. He's in very good personal relationship with His Excellency Chairman Xi Jinping. He's coming on his closest visit will be in July this year to Kazakhstan. So we're working really closely with our European partners and Chinese partners to make it happen. And we made a significant progress. It now takes 17 to 18 days to take any good of any sophistication in good transportation, with good transportation security from Leningrad dry port all the way to Rotterdam. And comparably, it'll take about almost 50 days, or at least 30 days, to take it by sea from Shanghai seaport to the same port in Rotterdam. And it was we accomplished it thanks to the railroad strategy we had. So we built a lot of connecting railroads, stations, and logistics hubs to make that smooth transition. Almost $35 billion were invested in the last 15 years to make it happen, and it's now completed. We had a train leaving from Leningrad and arriving to Rotterdam in a matter of 18 days. And now we're using that middle corridor connection to connect Kazakhstan through Caspian Sea to Baku, to Azerbaijan, and then through Georgia to Turkey. And then we have alternative route, which is even shorter, about 15 days. So that is a reality. More and more companies now establishing their operations in Kazakhstan. They want to be in the buckle of the belt. We want to be right in the middle so that they can use that strategic location to work with both Asian and European markets. Now, my last, and would be the core message I have, there is a huge education market. 2 billion people. Imagine 1 billion young people living in the area with very low education infrastructure. There's not enough education infrastructure. There are not enough good universities. Russia, Ukraine used to be academic mobility hubs. A lot of these students looking for options. So within a matter of 2 years, dear colleagues, we had 17 really solid universities who came to Kazakhstan and established their operations. I'll give you several examples. The Leicester University, it's British university. They set up operations in Almaty, our largest city in south of Kazakhstan, with a brand of De Montfort University. You could find it on a map. They invested $12 million in establishing a campus. We issued a separate government decree. We provide full government and regulatory support, special licensing regime, so that they can keep their flexibility. And they started with British bachelor program. We'll have their first batch next year. Full flexibility, full government support, special government decree to keep all their policies and regulatory framework intact, business as usual. Another good example would be University of Arizona, which is the first American university to come to this part of the world ever. And we set it up north. It's city of Petropavlovsk, very close to Russian border, 72 kilometers from Russian border. They were not happy at all. Every now and then I talk to my colleague from Russia, Minister Falkov, and he's always like, well, Sayasat, we don't really like the idea of having American university so close to Russia. But, you know, we have to think about it. We have to think different strategies. Yeah, sure. I mean, Your Excellency, I mean, it's okay. And we set it up last year. We started with 3 bachelor programs, 150 students, the first batch. The second year, we had 500. This year, we'll have 1,000. Reason? A lot of Russians from these big cities, Novosibirsk, Tomsk, Omsk, the only possibility to go to have an American education is now that University of Arizona campus. Because they not get admitted. I mean, it's a problem. They made it public. University of Florida was the first American university to cancel, to not admit any Russian nationals, to a pity. And they are now making all the Russian students transfer to different universities. Now they're making it public. Now, Heriot-Watt is another good example. It's the oldest Scottish technological university. Again, we had full government support, special government decree. They kept their programs. We started with 3 bachelor programs last year, geoengineering, electrical engineering, and computer engineering, 300 students. We provide full government scholarships as well. So that for 10 years, for the first 10 years of any campus who comes to Kazakhstan, fully covered by government scholarships. Anyone who gets admitted to this new campus, full government scholarship for 10 years. We want to make sure they don't run for money, they have good footing, good foothold in the region, they're government supported and backed. We provided full infrastructure support for Heriot-Watt. They have 3 global campuses now, one in Dubai, the second is in KL, Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and the 3rd global campus now is in Aktobe, in the city of west of Kazakhstan. And my last good example would be the Kazakh-German consortia. Remember I told you about this Svevin company, the green hydrogen production company. So we approached them right away and we said, we don't want you to have, to rely, to bring this workforce from Europe. It's really difficult. Let us train basic personnel for your company here in Kazakhstan. Which universities you work with? They said, well, we work with 4 universities, Wildau, Darmstadt, Berlin Technical, and Hamburg University of Applied Sciences. We brought them all together as a consortia to the city of Akhtau in west of Kazakhstan. We started with a very interesting formula called 2 + 1 + 1. 2 years in Kazakhstan, and we have a advanced German program, language program. 1 year in one of these 4 German universities, and 1 year what we call industrial secondment. It's dual training program for this large green hydrogen production. Good value proposition for any applicant, for any student. You get 2 diplomas, Kazakh diploma, German diploma, and industrial certificate, highly employable as we call it. German, Turkish, Chinese, Lubang, Ganfang. So we opened that Lubang, very famous workshop model in east of Kazakhstan, focusing on electric car production and autopiloting. City University of Hong Kong. That's the big reason why I am here. And Madam Nancy Ip mentioned there are some guests who traveled long ways, that's me, to come here specifically to work with City University of Hong Kong's management. We're trying to bring them to Kazakhstan as well. So they would be the first Hong Kong university to dare to open new market, to have this big adventure in this unknown terra incognita territory for Hong Kong. And may they pave the way, they will be the pathfinders. We welcomed their delegation to Almaty last year, and they've seen the potential, they've seen the market, so you could always talk to your colleagues from City University of Hong Kong to have their impressions of the region, to have their impressions of the human capital and quality of education in Kazakhstan. Seoul Tech, I just flew in from Seoul, from South Korea. There are five Korean universities who will be coming to Kazakhstan. One, which is already in Kazakhstan, is Seoul Tech, Seoul University of Science and Technology. We signed last year. We're opening up a branch campus of 3 programs: cybersecurity, computer science, and artificial intelligence. KAIST, Korean Advanced Institute of Science Technology. We have signed a principal agreement yesterday with Ministry of Education of Korea. It's actually Science and ICT, Information Technologies, to establish KAIST Kazakhstan. So they have this giving back to society model. You know, KAIST, if you look back in history, it was established back in 1971 with support and help of Stanford University. So now they want to help developing nations to have an advanced research-intensive university as well. They started with Kenya KAIST. But they made a mistake, they admitted that, because the primary education in Kenya is not good quality. So when they come with their advanced programs, there's not enough human capital to get their advanced PhD and master degrees, because they're mostly graduate and postgraduate school. So now they turned back. I said, I told you, you should come to Kazakhstan. We have good human capital. We have good school education to feed you with talents. So now we've made principal agreement to bring KAIST to Kazakhstan. Penn State, Dong-i, another Korean university, Kia has opened large new generation automobile production factory in north of Kazakhstan, city of Kostanay. Russians were not happy again, because why are you bringing all these foreign universities and institutions to north, so close to our border? And we said, well, it's a sign of our brotherly love, right? We love you so much. So Dong-i was this Korean university serving Hyundai and Kia, having dual training programs for their technicians and engineers. So we brought them to city of Kostanay to train engineers for this new Kia production plant. Gubkin, well, we have to bring a lot of Russian universities. So there are top universities like Moscow Engineering and Physics Institution, like Gubkin, that famous oil and gas institution, are already in Kazakhstan having joint programs and running their academic programs in Kazakhstan. We tried to talk to Singapore, and they said, no, we can't do that. Because it's a different reason. But we do have very strong relations with Singapore as well. So what in any academic institution which says, wow, it sounds interesting, it's a big market, I see the potential, what do I get? It's a new market for me, it's a highly risk area. I've never heard about Kazakhstan. Well, I heard about it, but so close to Russia, it's kind of a risky territory for me. You get full government support from my ministry. As I mentioned, funding. All students who would be admitted to that new venture will have 10 years worth of full government scholarships. So we'll cover all the tuition fees, infrastructure support, labs for any students who are admitted. 10 years. If needed more, we'll take more. Taxation exemption. License obtaining, will issue a special government decree to give you full licensing support and regulatory support. Harriet Watt, they had problems in Malaysia. They had to comply with quite strict and regulatory framework. So they said, well, it's kind of we had bad experience, quite painful. Boom, government decree, no regulatory. I said, we're coming. Visas for all the faculty or any experts. We have a special visa status now for academic visas, multiple entry, no problem with that. And if like the Leicester University said, I want to have an investment model, I want to set up. So we found them a good piece of land, free of charge, and we're working with local authorities to provide construction, all the support, administrative support needed for building a campus. I'm going to stop here because I have a sign saying 1 minute left. So these are all the different models we have. By inviting you to Kazakhstan, by inviting you to join this large market, education market, which is forming, it is indeed a land of opportunity for the time being, given that a lot of businesses now relocating to Kazakhstan, thanks to that crisis we have. 37 companies, Google, Huawei, Microsoft, Samsung, large companies, they come to Kazakhstan seeking the location, seeking the government support. So I will be here throughout the conference. I have my team with me. I have our Consul General in Hong Kong, who is established here. I have president of one of our leading technical university, Mr. Miram Abigintayev. Can you please, yes, show yourself? Thank you. And we would be happy to discuss and answer any questions you have. It is a region to watch. It is a region on rise. It is a very young population. It has very young population that needs good education. So we would be welcome you to our region and welcome you to Kazakhstan. Again, thank you very much, Madam Nancy, for invitation, for kind invitation. You're a good friend of Kazakhstan. We would like your support also. We seek your support to have spread the word and have more Hong Kong education institutions to look at least in our direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nurbak, for your enlightening remarks and presentation. Thank you. Before we invite the next speaker to the stage, we would like to remind you that simultaneous interpretation services is available at the summit today. If you do need a headset, please turn to one of your ushers for assistance. Channel 0 is for our floor language. Channel 1 is for translation into Chinese. Channel 2 is for translation into English. 再次提提大家，我们的峰会今天有提供同声传译服务，有需要的来宾可以跟我们现场的工作人员联系。频道0是现场原声，频道1是中文，频道2是英语。谢谢。Now, as we endeavor to establish Hong Kong as an international hub for innovation and education, it is crucial for us to learn about the Hong Kong perspective. Now, please join me in welcoming Mr. Jeff Chen-Fai-Si, Acting Secretary for Education, Under Secretary for Education, Government of the Hong Kong SAR. Please welcome.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First of all, I would like to extend my gratitude to Minister Nurbak for your insightful and informative sharing, especially your sharing of the 3M strategy of Kazakhstan. And we are also very glad that there are a large community of students from Kazakhstan studying here in Hong Kong. And that contributes to the construction of international education hub here in Hong Kong. And I would also like to echo Professor Yip's earlier remarks of welcoming our mainland and overseas visitors to come over to attend this summit. I hope you have a good time in Hong Kong. And actually, we have the Hong Kong Rugby Sevens coming up in 2 days. And I hope you get to stay around for the Rugby Sevens and other mega events here in Hong Kong. I'm very delighted to join you all today at the Global Innovation and Technology Summit, where it presents an opportunity for us to engage in valuable exchange about the future development of higher education. And I'm deeply honored to share with you the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region government's vision of developing Hong Kong into an education hub and to explore collaboration opportunities in higher education between Hong Kong and the rest of the world. Education constitutes the foundation of every society's economic, cultural, and social progress. It is one of the top priorities in our National Master Plan, the bedrock of people's well-being and happiness, and the cornerstone of the long-term stability and prosperity of the nation. The Hong Kong SAR government attaches great importance to education. In the 2023-24 financial year, the estimated total recurrent expenditure on education amounts to 104 billion Hong Kong dollars. We firmly believe in the significance of higher education as reflected in the annual budgets of around 21 billion Hong Kong dollars for the 8 UGC-funded universities. We strive to enhance Hong Kong's status as an international education hub through internationalization and diversification of the higher education sector. Over the past decade, Hong Kong has made significant strides in its journey to become a regional education hub. With sustained government support, we stand as the only city with 5 universities ranked among the top world 100, including 3 universities in Asia's top 10. All of these universities are publicly funded universities, which showcases our commitment to academic excellence and global success. Our universities have earned a reputation for offering exceptional programs, particularly the business administration programs, which are widely regarded as among the best in the world. At the same time, we have placed significant emphasis on impactful research, witnessing tremendous achievements within Hong Kong's higher education sector. The results of the Research Assessment Exercise 2020 have indeed validated our research capabilities, with around 25% of research projects considered world-leading and 45% deemed internationally excellent. Thanks to the efforts of our dedicated and world-class university leaders and faculty members, many of whom are here in this room with us today, our research endeavors have yielded positive impacts on communities in Hong Kong and beyond. So the transition from being regional to international education hub demonstrates remarkable progress and achievements of our higher education sector in terms of academic accomplishments and global reputation. Building on the strengths of Hong Kong's higher education sector, the Chief Executive of Hong Kong SAR has announced in his 2023 policy address a comprehensive blueprint to develop Hong Kong into an education hub internationally. We are committed to increasing the enrollment ceiling of non-local students of TOTS programs from 20% to 40%. In order to attract more international students to pursue their studies in Hong Kong. In addition, we provide more PhD fellowships and additional publicly funded places, with the quota for Hong Kong PhD fellowship scheme increased by 1/3 gradually. The Hong Kong SAR government is keen to expand global connectivity and welcome more international and exchange students as we strive to establish collaboration with more reputable institutions around the world to further support and attract more international students from Belt and Road countries. We will expand scholarship opportunities by increasing the quota of the scholarship by 50%. We will inject an additional 100 million Hong Kong dollars to promote global engagement and foster multicultural learning experiences. This will serve as an incentive for universities to offer students more exchange and learning opportunities outside Hong Kong. Looking ahead, the Hong Kong SAR government is proactively taking forward the development of the Northern Metropolis University Town, where universities are encouraged to strengthen collaboration with renowned institutions in the mainland and overseas. We aim to achieve greater synergy by sharing of resources and fostering mutual development with industries within the region. I'm confident that you would share our belief that this is an ambitious, visionary, but achievable target of great significance to Hong Kong's future. Nurturing future talents is a key focus, with an emphasis on developing multidisciplinary talents with future-ready skills. We will have set a target that 35% of university students will pursue programs in the disciplines of science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics within 3 years, ensuring that they are well positioned for future success in the digital economy. Furthermore, given the immense opportunities presented by the 8 centers, our target is that 60% of our undergraduate students will be pursuing relevant disciplines within 3 years. Those studying in Hong Kong will gain a competitive advantage and be prepared to seize the opportunities arising from the national strategies. They will have the knowledge, skills, and exposure needed for success and bring global impacts in different fields. Hong Kong's higher education is truly embracing internationalization. As a dynamic city, Hong Kong presents a multitude of opportunities for people from outside the city to explore arts, culture, sports, and nature. It serves as the captivating intersection of East and West, offering students from diverse cultural backgrounds an enchanting experience in different facets of life. Whether you are seeking comfortable lifestyle or a taste of the local culture, Hong Kong is always prepared to exceed expectations and cater to a wide range of interests. Our cosmopolitan culture makes the city unique and incredibly attractive to international students. We are most pleased to say that 1 out of 5 of our students come from outside Hong Kong, and the proportion is even higher for academic staff, with 2/3 from elsewhere. Moreover, the 8 UGC-funded universities alone have entered into some 2,600 agreements for students' exchanges with institutions around the world and actively seeking opportunities to enhance global connectivity. Recognizing the significance of students' integration for both local and international students, fostering friendships and cultural understanding, we acknowledge the need for a more inclusive environment. This exposure to different perspectives and experiences enhances the educational experience of our students on campus and prepares them for collaboration in the interconnected world. Likewise, a welcoming atmosphere will also cultivate a sense of attachment to Hong Kong among international students. This reinforces the impact of internationalization on all fronts. Under the support of national policies, Hong Kong's development into the 8 centers has facilitated continuous economic growth. In addition to our traditional strengths in financial services, trade, maritime, and arbitration, the national strategies identified 4 fast-growing areas, namely innovation and technology, East-West cultural exchange, aviation, and intellectual properties trading. These areas hold tremendous opportunities for our younger generation, as well as students who come to study in Hong Kong, to build successful careers that contribute to the city's economic developments and bring global impacts across all fields. Pursuing higher education in Hong Kong not only equips students with knowledge and skills, but instills a desire to consider Hong Kong their home for pursuing their dreams. Surveys reveal that from some 60% of our international undergraduate students choose to pursue full-time employment in Hong Kong after graduation. To this end, our policies allowed non-local students to take on summer jobs and on-campus part-time jobs, and to stay in Hong Kong without limitations for 24 months after graduation, making Hong Kong an incredibly attractive destination for scholars, researchers, and students alike. As a special administrative region of China under one country, 2 systems, institutional autonomy and academic freedom are enshrined in our basic law. Hong Kong stands as the only place where global and China advantages come together in one single city. Our strategic location in the heart of Asia positions us as an exceptional learning environment, preparing overseas students to tackle fast-changing global challenges, particularly for those interested in tapping into the enormous opportunities available in the Greater China. More than that, as a member of the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area, we enjoy strong connections with a population of over 86 million, creating a network of megacities and exciting developments. Moving beyond, Hong Kong is also acting as the super connector, facilitating connections between China and the world, especially through our expanded engagements with the Belt and Road markets. We have implemented a scholarship scheme specifically designed for students from Belt and Road countries to pursue full-time programs in Hong Kong. It has been a great success in attracting the bright minds and making Hong Kong the key node in the national initiatives. In conclusion, the combination of all these institutional factors makes Hong Kong a vibrant city that offers considerable opportunities for individuals to realize their personal aspirations. It demonstrates our unwavering commitment to attracting talents, promoting diversity and internationalization in our higher education sector, and providing opportunities for students worldwide to succeed in their academic pursuits. With many brilliant and gifted students, exceptional academics from across the globe calling Hong Kong their academic home, Hong Kong has become a cradle for future talents and is well positioned to contribute to the global knowledge economy. I look forward to working closely with you all to further enhancing our educational partnerships. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Z, for shedding light on this topic from the Hong Kong perspective and for showing us how promising Hong Kong is in developing into an international hub for education and innovation. Now, before we proceed to our next session, we would like to remind you that you may feel free to enjoy the refreshments we've prepared for you while we continue our program today. And next, we're going to move on to our next session, titled Leadership Perspectives on the Future of Education. We're fortunate to have with us several distinguished scholars who hold leadership positions at some of the world's most prestigious universities. Their perspectives on the future of education have the potential to shape higher education in the years to come. First of all, we would like to welcome Professor Charles Baumtra, Pro-Vice Chancellor for Innovation, University of Oxford. Professor Baumtra will be presenting through a video. Now, let's hear from Professor Baumtra.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My sincere apologies for not being able to join you. And I hope one day we'll get a chance to meet, and I'd be delighted to host some of you, at least in Oxford. So thank you for bearing with us. What I'd like to do in the next few minutes is just give you a little bit of a flavor of what we're doing in Oxford. I think I'll talk a little bit about some of the challenges that I know we all worry about. I'll share with you some thoughts on what I think are the solutions. I'll also share with you some of the things that we did, for example, during the pandemic and since. I'll make a few comments about culture, and then I'll finish off with some of the other things that we're doing and planning here in Oxford. And I hope there may be opportunities for us to work together. And I hope some of you may reach out after the meeting, etc. So thank you. So first of all, challenges. So like you all, I worry about many challenges facing our planet at the moment. In my own research is in healthcare, so I worry a lot about, for example, dementia. Or, you know, in this country, UK, tiny country, less than 70 million people, we have 850,000 people with dementia. And by 2050, that's estimated to reach 2.1 million. You know, this is a massive problem, and I don't believe we yet have something that truly slows down the progression of that disease. Mental health is another issue. I mean, we all worried about it before the pandemic. And frankly, post the pandemic, it's got even worse. And it's estimated that at least 20% of adults have a depressive episode during their lifetime, etc. It's estimated that maybe 83 million people across Europe have got some sort of mental health condition, etc. And that is a massive, massive and growing problem, etc. And I suspect with some of the climate changes we're going to see in the next few decades, and some of the migration as a consequence, it's going to have an even greater impact on mental health. I also worry about aging societies, of course, sort of, in the UK, and I'm sure this applies in many places. I mean, sort of, we're expecting in the next 20 years to see 180% increase in the number of pensioners with cancer. So that's almost a tripling. We're going to see 120% increase in pensioners with diabetes. So, again, more than a doubling. These are massive issues. Cancer is also a big issue. I mean, despite Kennedy's war on cancer several decades ago, and we have made lots of progress, but there are still many cancers that are pretty intractable. Pancreatic, ovarian, esophageal, brain, these are almost death sentences. And in the UK, we have something like 350,000 people getting diagnosed with cancer every year. That's 1,000 people every day. That's one person every 90 seconds. And it's now estimated that half of us during our lifetime will have a cancer diagnosis. So a big, big issue. I also worry about AMR, antimicrobial resistance. As you know, many people across the world are currently resistant to the antibiotics that we currently have. And already more than 1 million people a year are dying because of this resistance. And it's estimated that these numbers will rise to well in excess of 10 million by 2050. And Jim O'Neill did a report a few years ago, and he estimated that if we don't come up with a new generation of antibiotics, then by 2050, it's going to cause a loss of GDP for the planet in excess of $100 trillion, etc. So these are frightening numbers. Another conditions is the rare diseases. We call them rare diseases, but there's 7,000 of these diseases. And if you add up all the patients, it's more than 350 million patients. Now, many of these kids do not reach the age of 5. It can take maybe 6 to 8 years to get a diagnosis. And more than 95% of these kids have no approved treatment. So this is a horrible situation. You can imagine being a parent of a child with a rare disease and there's no current treatment, and the pharmaceutical industry is not trying to come up with something. I mean, these parents and their kids have no hope, and so that's a frightening prospect. So those are a number of healthcare challenges, and of course, these are global issues. They're not restricted to the UK. They apply right across the world. Then the second bucket of worries, of course, is around the climate emergency. I mean, we've all seen what's happened in the past few years. We've seen massive fires in Australia or Siberia or California or Canada or Brazil, etc. We've seen temperatures in excess of 40 degrees in Vancouver in India, and roads melting in India. We've seen floods in London and Germany and New York and all over the world, etc. These climate emergency, these climate issues, they are happening now. This is not going to happen in 20, 30 years' time. My worry is I don't think we're making fast enough progress in terms of green energy or carbon capture or biodiversity or food production or access to clean water, etc., etc. So these are big, big problems. And I absolutely believe the only way we're going to tackle them is not by a individual or a group or a institution working in isolation. We have to come together. We have to come together to get that scale and urgency. Now, in terms of solutions to these things, I think sort of what we, of course, need is great researchers. And we're fortunate in our universities, we are training many great researchers. But we also need other things. We need great leaders. Not all researchers are great leaders. We also need great innovators. And we also need great entrepreneurs. So for me, a leader is somebody who can inspire, energize, enthuse, bring people along, create a vision. Innovators are people who, they're not just doing incremental research, they're doing things that are step changing, they're transformative. And entrepreneurs are people who are willing to take risks. Any hurdle you put in their way, they will get around that hurdle somehow, etc. And they're determined to prove their idea right and you wrong, etc. We need people with that sort of passion and urgency. So I think to tackle these problems, to create new technologies and new platforms and new policies and new processes, etc., we need a combination of all of those. We need great researchers, we need great leaders, we need great innovators, and we need great entrepreneurs, etc. Now, again, like I said, we're fortunate in our universities, we're producing a pipeline of those. I'll now share with you just some of the things that I am sure you're aware that we've done in Oxford in the past few years. And sort of many people saw what this great university of mine did during the COVID pandemic. I mean, sort of my colleagues, Adrian Hill, Sarah Gilbert, John Bell, Andrew Pollard, etc., they worked with colleagues from AstraZeneca, Mene Pangloss, Pascal Swarra. They worked with colleagues from the UK government, the UK regulators, lots of other funders, Wellcome Gates, etc., etc. And they all came together and created one vision and said, look, we want to create a vaccine to get the world out of this pandemic. This was, 4 years ago. This is at the start of the pandemic, around about March, April, etc. And they said, look, we're not interested in making money. We just want to help the world get out of the pandemic. And it is absolutely stunning to me what my colleagues have done, and it shows what, if we all have a single vision and we're all pulling in the same direction, it's amazing what we can do. So as you know, producing a new vaccine can take up to 9 years. But my colleagues did that in 9 months. So it's, again, I think the big lesson for me is coming together across sectors, academia, industry, government, regulators, funders, creating a single vision and everybody pulling in that direction. And the other example, of course, that happened at the same time was the recovery trial led by my brilliant colleagues, Martin Landray and Peter Horby. Now, what they did was they looked to see, are there any existing drugs that have any efficacy in treating COVID? And of course, they were the ones to show unequivocally that hydroxychloroquine, the anti-malaria drug, has absolutely no efficacy. And they also went on to show that dexamethasone, this cheap generic anti-inflammatory that's found in every pharmacy store, was effective. Now, that finding alone has apparently saved more than 1 million lives in the pandemic, etc. So that it's amazing the impact that we can have. And it's amazing how we can help the world and patients and people across the planet, etc. That was a great example. And then as my colleague Adrian Hill and his team have now recently come up with a new vaccine for malaria. And, that vaccine, apparently, there are nearly 500,000 kids in the continent of Africa dying every year because of malaria. So this vaccine is going to help prevent a lot of those deaths. So the impact of this vaccine could be even bigger than the impact of our Oxford AstraZeneca COVID vaccine, etc. So that's exciting. So these are just some illustrations of what we can do if we come together and use the infrastructures and the resources we've got and pool our capabilities and expertise and funds. Let me now just say a few words about culture, because I think that's important. I mean, I've seen a massive change in culture in Oxford. When I was here in the mid-80s, frankly, industry was a dirty word and nobody talked about innovation or translation or enterprise or commercialization, etc. But now it's completely different. I think there's a recognition that a great university like Oxford has to now do 3 things. Of course, we have to teach the next generation. Of course, we have to be a research powerhouse. But we also now need to use that research capability to help patients, to help society, to help industry, to help the economy, to help the planet, etc., etc. We've got to create impact with that research. Patients are looking for it, society expects it, industry expects it, government expects it, funders expect it. So I think in universities now we have 3 pillars of activity. Of course, teaching, research, and then this creation of impact, etc. I should also say, in Oxford, I've seen a couple of step changes in culture. In the first one, I think, was around 2015. So what we did in 2015 was we created a fund. At the time, it was called Oxford Science Innovation. The fund was £614 million, and it was purely for Oxford faculty and Oxford researchers to translate their ideas. And the creation of that fund, frankly, was a step changing. Prior to that fund, as a university, we were doing maybe 4 or 5 companies a year. As soon as we did that fund, it went up to more than 20. In 2021, we did 31 companies, and 31 was, my understanding is, it was more than any other university on the planet. So that's pretty exciting. I think that produced a culture change, creating that fund. The next step change happened actually during the pandemic, when many of my colleagues they looked at people like Adrian Hill and Sarah Gilbert and Andrew Pollard and Peter Horby and Martin Landry, and they realized this is the impact we can have if we work with industry, we work with government, we work with regulators, we work with funders, etc. We work with other countries. It's amazing what we can do. So I think, for me, if we want to tackle any of these problems, we need scale and urgency. And of course, the way to get that is through partnership, working with colleagues, organizations who have complementary capabilities. And I hope together we may be able to explore some of those avenues. I'll finish now by just sharing with you some of the things that we're now doing in Oxford. So what I'm now trying to do is to attract many more investors to Oxford. I'm also trying to attract many more corporates to Oxford. I'm also trying to ensure that we put up lots more innovation space. We desperately need more innovation space in the area. We also need more entrepreneurs who can scale up companies. As a university, we've shown we can create companies and they can get to £1 billion, they can become unicorns, etc. But we now need to scale them up to 10 billion, 30 billion, 50 billion, etc. So I think we need experts who know how to scale up these companies, these scale up entrepreneurs. I'm also putting a lot of thought and effort into how we encourage more female entrepreneurship, how we encourage more female founders, more female CEOs, more female CSOs, etc., etc. And we're making progress in that direction. I think we're at high 20%, etc. But I think we need to get to 50-50 as quickly as we can. The other big thing that I think that's going to happen in Oxford in the next few years is the arrival of the Ellison Institute. So Larry Ellison is setting up a major research institute here in Oxford, a couple of very large buildings. They're going to be headed up by Regis Professor John Bell, who's just a legend. And Larry, like many of us, is concerned about the same sorts of things. He's worried about healthcare, he's worried about climate, he's worried about inequalities across the world. He wants to use his resources and his expertise and his supercomputing at Oracle, etc., to solve some of these problems. He of course is an engineer, a physicist. He absolutely believes the solution to many of these problems is new technologies, new platforms, large data sets, AI, and supercomputing. So I think Ellison coming to Oxford, I think that is going to produce another culture change, frankly. So colleagues, look, thank you so much for bearing with me. Apologies that this is online and not face-to-face. And please do contact me if there's anything I can do to help. I'd be delighted. But in any case, all the good wishes, and with all of your research and projects and whatever you're doing, all the very best. Bye-bye.
Next, please join me in welcoming on stage Professor Tony Chan, President, King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, for his presentation. Please welcome.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be back in Hong Kong. Every chance I got, I try to come back, especially when the invitation came from Nancy and Jing Wang. I look forward to meeting some new friends and saying hello to some old friends. I have about 15 minutes, I understand. So I've chosen this title. I hope it's relevant. So basically, it's about new RDI, RDI is R&D and innovation, so I think it's relevant to this conference. And also higher education, development in Saudi Arabia, where I think I'm probably the only one in the audience who's living in Saudi Arabia, and also the university KAUST's role. So that's what I plan to do. Okay, so what gives me the credibility to speak on this, other than I live there and work in Saudi Arabia? So in addition, I want to draw your attention to the second bullet on the right. So the ecosystem in Saudi Arabia is a little different. So just because of either me as president of KAUST, and KAUST is more unique in Saudi Arabia than, let's say, HKUST is in Hong Kong. Okay, so the system is different. Maybe because of my background, I serve on a lot of committees and boards. Oops. I serve on a lot of committees and boards in Saudi Arabia. In particular, most relevant to this talk is what is called the Supreme Committee on RDI. So this is a new thing. I will say a little bit more about that. And for example, FII Institute, with the Future Investment Institute, it just held its priority summit in December, hosted by the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, for example. So that's another one. I'm on the board. And then you have AI Authority, that's SIDAIA, SDAIA, and CAX is the National Lab for Saudi Arabia. KFUPM is the MIT of Saudi Arabia. I'm on its advisory board. And NEOM, you learn about the new future city. In fact, they're coming to Hong Kong later this month, I understand, on the road show. And other things, SUSTEC, I know the SUSTEC representative here. So I'm still on the advisory, International Advisory Board. I'm on Skolkovo, which is Russia. So I've been there for almost 10 years on this board. Then before that, of course, I was in the US most of my career. I was born in Hong Kong. So I know Hong Kong a bit, and I was the president of HKUST. So that's my background. So I hope my perspective, while unique, hopefully will have some credibility when I talk about this. My own background is in computer science. So if I were not president, I would be doing AI. Okay, I'm glad I'm not doing AI at this point. Okay. The thing on the left was in 2022 in the local Saudi English language newspaper, they asked me to write something to predict basically innovation and science technology in the future. So I don't want to go through that, but that's the idea. So there's a national platform for me. So let me step back, because this is an innovation and technology summit. The gist of this slide is it's very easy to destroy an innovation system, and very difficult to build it up, as you know, especially in Hong Kong. Of course, you can destroy it by underfunding, but most important is not finding and nurturing the talent and changing the culture. That's the most important thing, okay? Now, what's the role of the university? I think, again, the role of the university is actually talent. The university nurtures the next generation of talent. Of course, we do R&D and innovation. We have startups, so we should nurture that. But those are, by chance, right? You start up these things, and hopefully some of them are successful. And they leave home. It's like your children. You don't always nurture them to when they become a unicorn, okay? So now here's a big picture in R&D. Some of you probably seen this slide. So the picture on the left is in 2011. It shows basically the horizontal axis is the percentage of GDP or good that a country spends on RDI. And the vertical axis is the percentage of the population in the RDI ecosystem. And the one on the right is 10 years later, 2021. That's the latest one we have. So if you look there, first of all, you wonder where Saudi Arabia is. Saudi Arabia, on the one on the left, you cannot even find it. It's sort of in the bottom left corner. It's a very small dot, okay? So on the right, it's a little bit moved to the right, so in terms of percentage, but it's still very low. Saudi Arabia today spends about 0.8%. Okay, probably roughly the same as Hong Kong. Maybe Hong Kong has increased a bit. But the percentage of the human capital is still relatively low, you see. But you see the big bubble, the blue one is the US. And you see the green bubble, a little bit further down is China, the green one. You see China is still relatively low on the vertical axis, but it's gone way to the right in this last 10 years. So the investment has gone up a lot. Now the singularity here, if you look at on the far right, that little green bubble on the right is South Korea. So South Korea, as you know, has invested heavily in R&D. So this is where the world is making their own plan, the countries. Every country worries about RDI. They do it in their own way. It depends on the trade-off, the resources, how much they can invest. So I mentioned about the RDI ecosystem in Saudi Arabia. So on the right is the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, MBS, usually referred to. Maybe just over a year ago, he announced, as you see in the title, Saudi Arabia outlines new plan for RDI. And in particular, the percentage of GDP that the country will invest in RDI will go from about 0.8% to 2.5% by 2040. Now, that's a huge increase. That's like 4 times, right? And it's setting up what they call an RDI authority. An authority is it's sort of the British system, if I understand. So it's like setting up an NSF and NIH to do the funding, for example. It's gearing up. And it's chosen 4 areas, so it's not trying to spread it thin. So these 4 areas you see is health and wellness, the second bullet, sustainability and essential resources, which includes water. There's no fresh water really in Saudi Arabia. And food, how do you grow food? Third one is energy, which is very natural, and industrial leadership. And the fourth one is more for the future, economy of the future. So this is selected to be the 4 areas. In fact, because I was on this committee, I was in charge of the second bullet, sustainability and essential resources. And I can tell you, I have a small committee of about 4 people, and our recommendation is adopted as is. So this is really bottom up in some sense. Top down in direction, but bottom up in the details. Now the Ministry of Education, I promised to say a word about higher education. You might surprise most of you. You probably never heard of this. The Ministry of Education, it's not here, but okay. So I will have something that surprise you. But the Ministry of Education is, before, it's probably more like in mainland China. The university, most of them are part of the Ministry of Education, 教育部. So that's in Saudi Arabia. But it's now changing. The Ministry of Education trying to make the university more independent, have them set up their own board, raise their own endowment money. So this is happening. The second thing is co-ed. Because of the religious background, most of the university gender segregated, but it's changing in the last few years. Okay, so KFUPM, the university which I'm on the advisory board, admitted the first class of students maybe 3 years ago. So for example, and I met them. And these are top students. The fourth bullet, as you know, Saudi Arabia is big in oil and gas, but it knows, maybe 10 years ago, it knows the oil may run out, but today the concern is the demand for oil may go down. Everybody is going about what's called the energy transition. So Saudi Arabia is mentioning, there's no more stark example than, on the one hand, Saudi Arabia has Aramco, which is the biggest oil company in the world, and on the other hand, you have NEOM, which is the new future city, which is no carbon. They coexist in Saudi Arabia. In fact, NEOM, I mentioned, they will be visiting Hong Kong or China later this month. They're doing their roadshow, for example. So if you have a chance, maybe you can talk to them. The other thing is, 10 years ago, when I first went to Saudi Arabia, all the cars are basically big SUVs, okay? The gas is very, very cheap. Today, Saudi Arabia are trying to build electrical vehicle industry. Lucid is manufacturing there. Saudi Arabia built its own EV brand called Seer, for example. So this is actually happening. It seems a contradiction, but it's happening at the same time. Just 2 weeks ago, Saudi Arabia announced it will be making a huge investment, $40 billion in AI. I don't know exactly what is going to happen, but that's the biggest investment in AI, okay, almost anywhere in the world by a government. Semiconductors, obviously, is of interest to every country, so I don't have to emphasize on that. So now coming a little bit on cows, I have to hurry, I have 5 minutes, we just announced 6 months ago a plan called Accelerating Impact. So the Crown Prince, MBS, is our chairman. So he actually announced it. So basically, the idea is that we need to accelerate our impact. We've been making impact. We want to align with the 4 RDI priority of the country, those are listed there. We have to supercharge our innovation ecosystem. We want to commercialize our research more urgently. And we need to seek partnership. Those are the 2 themes, right, of this conference. We're doing also a lot of national initiative. I don't have time to go into that. We're building one of the world's largest coral reef garden in the world. It's up in Neom. We're doing carbon capture at the industrial plant. This is not just in the lab. And we're forming a VC. So it's $200 million over 5 years. So this is our VC. We want to fund our own startup, but also other startups from Hong Kong, for example, from anywhere in the world. If you come to Saudi Arabia and have impact in the local economy. In fact, the headquarters is in Palo Alto, for example. So these major initiative is not in a vacuum. It has to make global sense, but it also has to address Saudi Arabia's needs. So if you look at the first column, you see Saudi Arabia has basically no fresh water. Okay, so I don't have to expand on that. Climate is a big problem. For every degree increasing the temperature, it affects Saudi Arabia a lot more than it affects other more temperate regions. It's going through the energy transition. Health is a big thing since the pandemic especially, but Saudi Arabia has a lot of genetic special challenges. Right? Diabetics is a big challenge. And of course, the future economy, AI, cybersecurity, space. Saudi Arabia has a space program. So these 4 RDI priorities not by selected at random. And cows, if you look at the last column, we've been doing this thing from day one. So we are perfectly aligned with this, but we have to step up. We have to make it more, produce result more in a hurry. Another aspect of cows is that we are small. For example, we don't have academic departments, no departments. We don't have undergraduates. So it should be easier to do interdisciplinary integrated research, which we are trying to do. Second is that we want to do things at scale. So some of these projects I mentioned are at scale, not just in the laboratories. So here are a few examples. I don't have time to go into that, but you see. So here are some notable startups. Maybe I just briefly mention about the first 2. Red Sea Farm is a spin-off from 2 faculty from cows. And they use seawater to grow food, to grow crop. There's no fresh water. So there's a lot of science behind it. Now they are exporting this technology to around the world. The second one is actually most interesting to me. It's called Climate-Crete. So climate, Crete is concrete. Saudi Arabia has a lot of sand, more sand than oil. But you cannot use Saudi desert sand to build concrete. So Saudi Arabia imports several $100 million a year of sand to build things. Because the sand in the desert is too eroded. They're too smooth. So what these faculty do is they capture the carbon from the air, attach them to the sand, and now they can build concrete. So this is being done now. There's a startup. So, Saudi Arabia will be exporting sand in the future, hopefully. So the relationship between Saudi Arabia and China has been increasing. So China is the largest trading partner with all the countries in the Gulf region, okay? Largest customer of oil of Saudi Aramco. And of course, Saudi Arabia needs infrastructure. They're building all kinds of big infrastructure. It needs advanced technology and above all talents. And China needs new market and also investment. So this is actually a good match. There are a lot of things that happened just in the last year and a half, and those I don't want to go through all of them. But of course, the most important is President Xi Jinping visited just over a year ago, and a lot of things have changed. Immediately after that, the Hong Kong chief executive took a delegation of about 60 people to visit. So I showed the picture there. It's John Lee, and on the left, I'm on the right, and the one in the middle is the Minister of Investment of Saudi Arabia. So they were there. Lots of things you can see. Oops, what happened? I have maybe 2 more slides. Okay, so yeah. So I want to finish by 2 slides, okay? 1 minute, okay? So one is, because this is the Greater Bay Area organization is doing that, I want to mention something about the Bay Area. So this one slide I borrowed from Professor Li Jiexiang, some of you know, but I updated it. So, these are the four major areas. Hong Kong is on the bottom right in the Greater Bay Area here. We have the largest number of top-ranked universities. Someone mentioned that. I think Jeffrey C. mentions that. In terms of GDP, in terms of population, it is among the biggest. In fact, Silicon Valley is actually not the biggest. Okay, so this is what the Great Bay Area is about. Okay, so here's the last slide. This is my personal view. So hopefully I get through a few bullets. First bullet. People have been talking about Greater Bay Area for almost 30 years. It was first proposed by Wu Jiawei in 1997, if I remember. So I had written articles about this when I was in Hong Kong. In fact, 2 articles on the right. I have a regular column. The one on the top is about the Hotou, a river loop. The bottom right is actually another 20 years. I must have written it in 2017. It's 20 years after that. I say, do we have to wait another 20 years? Well, now we are 7 years after 2017. But I'm seeing that recently there's more action, in Hong Kong, developing the northern metropolis area. So there's more determination, but hopefully not another 20 years. But lots of things have changed. I have visited the Great Bay Area many times, sometimes with the government, sometimes on my own. Now, UST has campuses in Guangzhou. Most of the university in Hong Kong now have something to do with that. I visited Chinese University in Shenzhen, the Hong Kong U Hospital in Shenzhen. So that's very good, okay? But that's not enough, okay? One thing I did at KAUST, I set up an innovation hub in Shenzhen. So this was started just a few months ago, okay? So the idea is to bring the KAUST people from Saudi Arabia to go to Shenzhen, okay, to learn about the ecosystem. You cannot teach this on paper. You have to go there, okay, that's the idea. So there are complementary strengths. I've written about this between Hong Kong and even Shenzhen, never mind the rest of the Bay Area. I think if you take the advantages of Hong Kong, which is listed here, and the advantages of Shenzhen only, I call it, there's no peer around the world. 世界無敵 in Cantonese, okay? If you look at those two, okay? So it's still true. It's even more true today. Now, of course, there are challenges. Hong Kong and Great Bay Area, there's still 2 systems. There's a border, whether it's psychological or real, is still there. But in particular, the Western view of Hong Kong has changed. I talk to many people, they think there's no difference between Hong Kong and the rest of, mainland China. And this is a major challenge for Hong Kong, I think, here to go out. And there's competition for Hong Kong, Shanghai and Singapore and so on. Now, the last one I want to say is the opportunity. There's every challenge there are opportunities, okay? Hong Kong has diversified from finance, real estate, tourism, and so on. Last week, I was in Hong Kong, this One Earth Summit, very global, sustainability, great potential for Hong Kong. So one last thing I want to leave with you. I study in the Bay Area. So I've watched how San Francisco has evolved. So San Francisco was like Hong Kong. It was a financial center, tourism center. It has nothing to do with Silicon Valley. When I was a student, San Francisco was no Silicon Valley. Today is very different because the people who work in Silicon Valley and in Google, they want to live in San Francisco. But when they live there, if they want to leave the Googles of the world and they want to start up their own company, they don't want to move to the suburb. They want to live in San Francisco and start their company there. So Hong Kong has a unique advantage. And I visited Berlin when the wall was coming down. So if you go to Berlin now, you didn't know the wall was there. Okay, so a wall, a border can be taken down if you put your effort to it. And Middle East is a great opportunity. So I invite all of you to come to Hong Kong, to the Middle East. So that's the end of my talk. Can I have just 15 seconds, okay? I was sitting here, and listen, the way we pronounce our names, Hong Kong people, is so out of date. So our undersecretary, right? I know him before. His name is not Zhen Ming Qi, okay? It's Xi Guanming. That's his name. So my name is not Fan Chong Chan, okay? My name is Chen Fan Cheng. For those who don't speak it, that's the name. So either you know it or you don't. So I think now we are, more than 20 years, 25 years after 1997. So we should speak our own local language. I urge everybody who is there to adopt this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Chan. Thank you for your insightful sharing with us. Please be seated. Thank Thank you. Next, let's welcome on stage Professor Qi Huang-gong, President, Peking University, to speak to us. Please welcome.
"各位同仁，大家上午好。那么，感谢叶校长和滕校长的邀请，很高兴来参加本次峰会，和大家一起来交流领导力视觉下的未来教育这一议题。今天我发言的主题是新一轮科技革命与创新人才培养。当前以新一轮科技革命和产业变革为动力，科学技术和经济社会发展加速渗透，学科交叉融合不断深化，创新外溢效应大大增强，特别是随着人工智能、大数据等技术的大规模应用，学习方式、教学模式、科研方式正发生了深刻的变化。在这样的背景下，各国高等教育都在主动变革，呈现出一些共性的新的趋势。例如，在人才培养上更加注重多学科的交叉汇聚，强化培养过程的融会沟通，推动传统课程教学模式向数字化赋能转变等等。面对新一轮科技革命和产业变革，中国提出加快发展新质生产力，扎实推进高质量发展，作为教育科技人才的重要交汇点。高水平研究型大学对于发展新质生产力具有基础性、战略性的支撑作用。新形势下，我们要构建与国家战略和经济社会发展相适应的教育体系，更好地回答培养什么人、怎样培养人这一时代课题。近年来，北京大学积极探索创新人才培养的新机理，在这里，我结合学校的实践，分享3点思考。首先，在育人目标上，要面向未来，引领时代。当今世界正处于100年未有之大变局，复杂性、不确定性和模糊性并存，人类面临的共性难题亟待解决。在新一轮科技革命和产业变革影响下，新技术、新产业、新业态不断涌现，重塑了市场和社会对人才的需求，这些都对创新人才提出新的、更高的要求。在理想信念方面，创新人才既要有深厚的家国情怀和强烈的使命感，也要具备人类命运共同体意识和全球胜任力。在知识结构与思维能力方面，创新人才既要掌握精深的专业知识，也要具有宽口径、厚基础的知识视野，能够从错综复杂的现象中发现问题和解决问题。在数字素养方面，创新人才要有能够快速适应人工智能等新技术带来的颠覆性变革，以新范式、新方法探索科技原理和经济社会发展规律。近年来，北大坚持落实立德树人的根本任务，致力于培养德才兼备、体魄健全、堪担民族复兴重任的时代新人。在本科教育层面，完善8间创新人才选拔和培养模式，开展物理卓越计划、数学英才班等项目，遴选顶尖的师资担任导师，探索本博贯通培养，建设了19个基础学科8间学生培养基地，扎实做好强基计划学生全过程培养，牵头计算机、数学、物理、基础医学、经济学等本科教材101计划，引领全国本科教育改革。在研究生教育层面，建设数理化生4个国家高层次人才培养中心，着力培养高水平博士生，并与研究所、行业龙头企业开展联合培养，推动科教融合、产教融合，一批富有创新潜力的学生脱颖而出。例如，北大化学学院博士生于梦诗突破了后摩尔时代2维半导体材料制备的瓶颈，获评2023年度中国半导体10大研究进展。原培学院本科生张林峰等人创立了跨学科创业项目深世科技， 科学计算平台，其核心技术入选全球人工智能领域的10大进展。第二，在育人模式上要立足前沿，守正创新。科技与教育是相辅相成、相互促进的。当前人工智能、大数据等新技术不断改变了全球产业结构和人类的生活方式，也给高等教育带来的重要影响，为推进因材施教、提供更加生动丰富的学习体验带来了新的时代机遇。仅最近1年，联合国教科文组织通过的涉及人工智能的文件就有78件，这深刻反映出人工智能已经成为科教领域的重要影响因子。如果不能充分应用新技术推动教育教学的变革，大学就会落后于时代，人才培养就会与时代脱节。近年来，北京大学把人工智能、大数据等新技术应用作为教师教学培训的重要内容，开展了 AI for Education 主题沙龙、生成式人工智能在高校的应用教学沙龙、数字人文系列讲座等活动。现在，北大有越来越多的教师把 AI 助教、虚拟仿真技术等应用到课堂的教学中，给学生带来了全新的学习体验。比如，北大国际数学中心的董斌教授在图像处理中的数学方法课程中，结合 GPT-4 等大语言模型和课程专有的资料数据库，构建了 AI 助教系统，可为学生提供专业、灵活、个性化的学习支持。北大还形成了一批前沿的科研成果，比如和国家图书馆、字节跳动公司合作推出永热大典高清新影像数据库，以互动化、可视化的方式呈现珍贵的典籍，让学生能够更加直观、便捷地接受传统优秀文化的滋养。去年11月，北大携手全球近30所大学成立数字教育发展国际大学联盟 DIIDEA， 旨在加强全球高校合作，共同应对数字时代高等教育面临的重大挑战。第三，在育人文化上要多元并重、启智论新。面对新一轮科技革命的新要求，单纯依靠技术不足以培养出真正具有创新思维、创新能力的人才。人文教育在培养创新人才中同样具有重要的作用。能够引领未来的人才，应当拥有广博的知识视野，具备全面的能力素养，对不同文明具有包容性的理解。这些都需要人文教育与文化人，让科技更加关注人的需要。近年来，北大坚持科技为人文赋能，人文为科技赋值，大力发展数字人文等新兴领域。我们开办了应用语言学，也就是中文信息处理、计算艺术、健康传播专业硕士等跨学科的培养项目，招收理工背景的学生到文科院系深造，促进以文治理、以理新文，建设了语言学实验室，这是首批7个教育部哲学社会科学实验室，中华文明国家文物基因库、健康医疗大数据国家研究院、人文智能艺术创新与应用实验室等平台，不断提升文科学生的数字素养和科技思维，积极培养新时代哲学社会科学的工程师。通过近年来的育人实践，有越来越多的学生关注文化文明的发展历程。比如，过去有一段时间，历史学是相对冷门的学科专业，但如今北大历史系每年开设全校通选课程30多门，选课人数超过2000多人。其中有很多理工科专业的学生，在当前这个全面创新的时代，科技是创新的龙头，而文化文明则是孕育创新的土壤。我们相信，只要形成科技与人文并重的育人文化，就能够培养更多有理想、有本领、有担当的时代新人。各位同仁，在高等教育发展史上， 每一次变革都意味着要有新的维度和理念重新审视教育发展路径。信息技术与高等教育的联合与融合，为变革学习方式、共享优势教学资源、促进教育公平带来了重要契机。同时，高等教育社会深度融合的需求越来越强烈，产业结构变化催生新的学科组织方式，知识快速更新迭代催生新的人才培养模式。大学作为科技第一生产力、人才第一资源、创新第一动力的重要结合点，必须在新一轮科技革命中担负起自己的使命与责任，回应时代关切，面向未来。北京大学将以数字时代的新思维、新技术推动教育教学改革，发挥好教育科技人才一体推进的集聚效应、倍增效应，在创新性人才培养上持续发力，担当引领。我们也愿同全球高校伙伴一起，加强交流互鉴，增进务实合作，为推动世界高等教育的新变革与新突破，为人类文明的繁荣进步贡献更多的智慧和力量。谢谢大家。
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Gong. Please be seated. 谢谢。Next, we would like to invite on stage Professor Nguyen Chi Tan, President of National University of Singapore, to present to us. Please welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, good morning. And I'd like to thank President Prof. Nancy Yip for inviting me. I'm going to talk about AI in education. I'm delighted to be in good company for this session and share about the fast-growing and unavoidable phenomenon that higher education institutions across the world must manage. That is the use of artificial intelligence, or AI. AI has stormed the gates of higher education, especially in the last year or so. This acceleration can be attributed to the launch of ChatGPT in late 2022. For those who work in the area of AI, I think ChatGPT or large language models or generative AI, this is just a small part of the huge tapestry of AI research. Now, the third ChatOt Global Student Survey indicates that, and they poll undergraduates across 15 countries last year, and they shared that over 40% of respondents have used generative AI for their studies. And of those students, 50%, half of them, have inputted a question into general AI tools once a day or more. So without the doubt, these figures are set to grow as learners are introduced to AI tools much earlier. Learning and thinking form the foundations of education. Given the rising use and increased reliance of AI in educational institutions, I think it is important for us to ensure that the development of intellectual skills of our learners are not compromised. For example, it is typical for us to search online for information through search engines such as Google, pick up the relevant materials and consolidate them. But this task is now delegated to ChatGPT that has developed the capability to source, to extract, and to consolidate relevant information on any topics. And as a result, it eliminates the need for human agency. So there is the danger that if learners grow overly dependent on AI tools, that sort of foundational skill may be lost. So we stand at a cusp of the next industrial revolution, where our students, our graduates, will play a very critical role. And this is a role in the age of intelligence built into anything. So in the age of AI, technology will disrupt the fundamental value propositions of higher education, our curriculum, on what we teach and what we want our students to learn, and also pedagogy, how we teach and how our students learn and how we as professors assess. Tertiary education in particular must be reimagined to stay relevant. Educators should inculcate a high level of AI literacy by integrating AI concepts, applications, and implications across different disciplines so that our learners can build a multi-dimensional understanding of AI and its relevance and also its applications across many fields. They also need to reboot and repivot by incorporating the use of technology and AI in their teaching methods. Now, this requires a move from our traditional teacher-focused, skills-based, product-oriented, less interactive, and also highly prescribed way of learning, and to take a more hands-on approach that is more student or learner-centric. Now, at NUS, we have developed an interim policy way back early last year on how to encourage the use of AI in teaching and learning, and to establish some good guidelines for both our teachers and our learners. So for instance, generating an output and presenting it as one's own work would constitute an improper use of AI. We have also configured an AI community or practice to exchange ideas, to share resources, and to promote best practices, and set also community standards for the teaching of AI and application of AI in education. Now, beyond imparting knowledge and skills, educators should also see themselves as guides and leverage on AI to cultivate and hone higher level cognitive skills such as critical thinking, analysis, and strategy in learners. So this aligns very well with the 2023 Future of Jobs report by the World Economic Forum, where cognitive skills they top the list of important skill sets for our learners. Critical thinking skills include having an astute knowledge of what AI tools are capable of, as well as their shortcomings. Now, this would enable our learners to ask relevant and specific queries, leading to improved outcomes and deeper insights. To understand and handle the algorithms powering AI tools, learners must also grasp the basics of computational thinking, which is a mode of problem solving in mathematics, which is also the basis of prompt engineering, which these days you see are coupled together with the use of ChatGPT. So in doing so, I think it is important for educators and learners alike to be able to link theory and practice, and importantly, with hands-on projects. Additionally, an increased and more meaningful engagement with learners will allow educators the opportunity to emphasize humanities in education, which include navigating the nuances of human interaction, empathy, and ethical decision-making. The advancement of AI has also paved the way for personalized learning, where learners are empowered to detect their learning goals their pace of learning, how they learn, and more. Now, this is a depiction of a survey with just over 3,000 high school and college students in the United States. And it revealed that nearly all have replaced some of their tutoring sessions with ChatGPT. And 9 out of 10 respondents indicate a preference for studying with ChatGPT than with a personal tutor. So given that AI will likely displace large numbers of blue-collar and also the bottom rung of white-collar, we think that one of the biggest challenges is in the continuing education and training sector, because this is where we would need to retrain and reskill displaced workers and to provide them with new, meaningful career pathways. As an institution, NUS has also rolled out university-wide courses for our own administration staff, such as data literacy programs and AI competency courses to keep them up to date and to empower them to leverage on new technologies. So AI is here to stay. We might as well accept and embrace it and ensure that we develop AI-ready students who are both technically adept and ethically responsible in their use of AI. Now, for research-intensive universities like NUS, AI can also play a significant part in expediting research. Harnessing the full potential of AI requires the development of multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary teams, and also an enhancement of our research infrastructure to boost the computing power. So in this particular regard, NUS has recently launched the NUS AI Institute, which seeks to foster a vibrant ecosystem that promotes synergistic AI research and applications, and grow the talent pool and engage government and industry in partnerships. We have also built in innovation and entrepreneurship as well. So it looks to advance the research, development, and application of AI technologies for the benefit of society, and in many areas such as education, healthcare, finance, and so on. It will also organize its research activities under 4 trusts: foundational AI research, application domain research, policy and society implications, as well as the AI infrastructure. Now, to drive innovation and research translation, we are partnering with industry. For a start, IBM and Google Cloud will be collaborating with the NUS AI Institute as industry partners for research and domain applications and development. Now, unquestionably, there are some inherent risks in the use of AI tools, from inaccurate information to inherited biases in data, as well as intellectual property and copyright issues. As such, regulation will have to move in tandem with technology developments and must be considered from different angles, from data collection to model training to model output, right, end to end. So in view of AI's voracious appetite for energy, another major consideration is its impact on environment. All right, at just NUS, our servers are housed within 3 data centers, and they expend about 12 million or 12 gigawatt hours every year. And this is about 30% of which come from our GPU servers. And this is now about 5% of our annual electricity usage. But this is likely to grow, to double, to triple, right, in the next few years. So NUS hopes to reduce our carbon footprint by 30% by 2030. And with the increased use of AI for education and research, we are actually seeking more efficient ways to cool our data centers. So numerous prototypes have been put in place, including one, the Sustainable Tropical Data Center testbed, which is, I think, one of the world's first tropical climate data center. So in conclusion, AI, machine learning, and deep learning will fundamentally change the future of work, living, and learning. It is thus vital for all of us to step up on how we integrate AI into our program, into the thoughts of our people, and into what we do. This requires really a shift in mindset from merely assessing AI's capabilities and implications to improving and refining the way how we use it, and hopefully bridging the gap from fearing AI to befriending AI. As man and machine compete for dominance, higher education institutions have a very key role to play in ensuring that human intelligence remains supreme over machine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Tan, for this thought-provoking presentation and sharing. Thank you. Now please join us in welcoming on stage Professor Yukio Yuzawa, President of Fujita Health University, to speak to us. Please welcome.
And it progress. Next. Okay. Okay. So, good morning, everyone. And Professor Nancy, thank you very much for giving me opportunity to speak such a nice summit meeting. So, today I will talk about following in these slides. So, firstly, I will introduce about my university, and then I will talk about recent endeavors for the healthcare innovation, and lastly, our case of global MOU and educational reforms in our universities. So this slide shows our founding spirit of our university, our creativity for the people, because our founder, the Keisuke Fujita, he was not only a doctor, but a basic scientist. That's why after establishment of our university, we encouraged the basic research and also translational research. And this year, we are now celebrating the 60th anniversary after foundation. And this is the overview of our university and the university hospital. The location is just a center of our main island in Japan and very close to our main office of Toyota Automobile Company. And so far, last October, we have opened our new facility at Haneda Airport, the Fujita Medical Innovation Center Tokyo, as our new base facility. And our university is focused, specialized for the medicine and healthcare. So, so far we have 3 faculties and also 3 graduate schools. And total number of the students is around 3,000, and every year 220 doctors we sent out from the School of Medicine. So I showed this slide for 2 years ago. We hosted a THA Asia University Summit in our university hospital. And at the time, the title, Leadership Perspective on the Future Education, it is same as this summit meeting. And the main theme of this summit meeting was Facing the Future, Creating Academic Talent in the VUCA World. So we discussed with leader of universities that how we nurture the student who can proactively act to work to solve the major global issues. So actually we have so many issues such as global warming or ocean pollution or healthcare crisis we have. So we discussed about that, how to nurture the student who proactively work to solve these issues. So after this meeting, we reformed educational programs. We have the interprofessional education programs, and we incorporate the disaster medicine in these programs. So the aim of this education program is that we wanted to foster the student who can work actively to solve the global issues. And all the students should be qualified as a disaster prevention officer by graduation. And we want to teach them, all the students, the importance of social contribution. And also, we wanted to equip them with the skill of problem solving of real world problems. So this January, a large earthquake occurred in the other region of Japan, and immediately we dispatched the medical team to the affected area. And also, we are now still sending our staff and students to this area. And they are helping, supporting the shelter operation. So that our students is now contributing the society, and also they are now running on-the-job training of the disaster medicine. So this is our brief introduction of our university, and I will show you our trial of healthcare innovation in our university hospital. We have 3 major topics about that. First one is robotics, and telemedicine, and finally, medical large language models. So to promote healthcare innovation, first we organize Health Data Architecture Center in our university hospital. And we invited 2 very important persons. The Professor Jun Murai, he is now the advisor of the cabinet. And also he was a man to transfer the technique of internet into Japan. And also as a deputy director, we invited Professor Joichi Ito, and he was the director of Media Lab in MIT, and he's an expert of blockchain techniques. So concerning robotics, we have several robotics installed. Therefore, the rehabilitation robot, we collaborate with Toyota Automotive Company, and the robotic surgery system, I show you later. And during the pandemic, we installed the PCR robot for the COVID-19 in our university hospital. So the surgical robot system, there are several systems. And also we need a training center. The young surgeon need on-site training center to get a certificate for the robotic surgery. So we have several training centers, but only the domestic surgical robot system, it has the function of remote telesurgery system. So we are not thinking that instead of the on-site training, maybe if we can use remote function, the surgeon does not need to come to my university, that they can get a certificate remotely. So we try to the telesurgery experiment. The main purpose of this demonstration experiment is that whether we can reduce the time lag less than 0.1 second, because the surgeon recognizes the time lag if the time lag exceeds 0.1 second, and they cannot continue the surgery. So time lag is a very critical point. So we connected the Tokyo and our university and checked the time lag. It was so nice. Only 31 milliseconds when the distance was 300 kilometers. We placed the surgical console in the Tokyo and installed the surgical unit in our university. And then we extend this demonstration experiment to the abroad. So we asked President Tan to accept our project of telesurgery. The distance was 3,000 kilometers. And we placed the surgical console to NUS and the surgical robot placed in our university. The result was also very nice. Only the time lag was 107 milliseconds. So maybe if we can connect by using the submarine cable between the NUS and our university, maybe the surgeon in the NUS, they don't need to come my university. So remotely we can give them the certificate of robotic surgery. So because we have, and the wide group, they managed submarine network in Japan, and this group joined us because Japanese government covered the submarine network from Tokyo to major major Asian city, including Hong Kong and Singapore, and also London or United States. And when we use this submarine cable for the research and education, the charge is free. So this time, we have 3 cable network from Tokyo to Singapore. We use 3 types of network at the time, because just in the case of travel or the surgery. So it succeeded. And we have also installed the same robot in the Tokyo, our innovation center. So when we connect with our center to Asian major university, we can extend this kind of robotic surgery collaboration. And also we want to extend other field of the research collaboration by using the submarine cable network. And next, our case is Japanese version of medical large language models, because it's very important for even in the medical field. We first to create a medical record by using the generative AI, but after that, by the basis of this medical LLM, if we can create the digital patient for the common disease or very rare case of disease. Maybe the nurse student or doctor student can learn a lot from the digital patient before starting the bedside teaching. So bedside teaching is very critical. But before that, when we can use in the metaverse environment, if we can create the digital patient, the quality of the education it increased. We think about that. And after that, we want to show the current situation of global MOU of our university. So in the case of NUS with a project of telesurgery, I mentioned, already mentioned about that. And also, we have started a joint research by using the blockchain AI to protect the patient privacy. And also, we want to create, from our own clinical data, a synthetic patient group. If we create synthetic clinical data, maybe we can change the system of clinical research, because instead of real-world data, when we can use synthetic data from our own clinical data, maybe we will be able to skip the placebo group in the clinical research. We just start this kind of research project with Chiba Institute of Technology and also MIT. And finally, we are very happy that yesterday we signed with HKUST for the collaborated work. And in this collaboration, we are now hoping that to find a solution of the unmet needs in the medical field. And also, we want to start the entrepreneurship education, because as you know, in Japan, including my university, entrepreneurship education is not enough. So by collaboration with HKUST, so we want to start we want to reform our educational program for entrepreneurship. So maybe this is the last slide. So 2 years ago, we established a university venture fund only focused on the medical and healthcare field. And we hope that we are now currently supporting the 4 startup company, but through this project, we want to deepen the collaboration with so many industries. So maybe this is the last slide. So thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Yuzawa, for the insightful sharing. Thank you. Please return to the comfort of your seats for now, and we're going to welcome you again onto the stage for the following panel session. But before that, once again, our heartfelt thanks to all the speakers just now. Let's hear another big round of applause to thank our esteemed speakers. Thank you so much for your invaluable contribution. A lot of insights there, and really took us on a journey to envision the future of education and innovation. We heard about the perspectives from different parts of the world, from the UK, from the Middle East, from Singapore, from Hong Kong, and also mainland China as well, and also the speaker just now from Japan. We learned about their trends and also the future of education and innovation, how the intricate relationship may work together to help us bring GBA to become the next innovation and education hub. Now, next on our agenda, we're going to move into our panel discussion, Fostering Global Partnerships in Higher Education. This engaging discussion will be moderated by Professor Nancy Yip, Council Chair of the Greater Bay Area Association of Academicians and President of the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. First, please welcome Professor Yip to join us on stage. Joining Professor Yip on her panel, we have Professor Tony Chan, President, King Abdullah University of Science and Technology. Please welcome. We also have Professor Qi Huanggong, President of Peking University, Professor Eng Chi Tan, President, National University of Singapore, and Professor Yukio Yuzawa, President of Fujita Health University. Once again, please welcome our panelists on the stage. And now over to our moderator, Professor Yip.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, first I just want to offer my deep appreciation again to our guest speakers, and we all just heard their very inspiring speech. So I just want to again to say that I'm truly honored to moderate this panel discussion. And so again, I just want to introduce our four panelists. We have Professor Tony Chan, the President of King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, Professor Gong Qi Huang, President of Peking University, Professor Tan Ying Chai, President of National University of Singapore, and Professor Yukio Yuzawa, President of Fujita Health University. So each of these institutions really are truly renowned, and they're renowned for their forward-thinking initiatives in cultivating international collaborations, and also that would transcend the geographical boundaries. So at a time when we have many global challenges that really require international collaborations, I think it is really timely for us to have this panel discussion to discuss how we can promote more international collaborations across geographical boundaries, across institutions. So I know we are here between you and lunch, so I think we will be very brief in our remarks. So maybe first I just ask the panelists a general question. So it is clear that international resource has the potential to act as a powerful catalyst for the advancement of the higher education institutions. And I know that each of the institutions really has their best practices in how to promote the international collaboration. So may I ask each of you to share with the audience, some of the best practices that you have, so that we can all learn from you and maybe adopt similar practices at our own institutions. So maybe I'll start with you, Tony. Would you like to share with us?
Sure. We have to ask why we want to have this partnership. I think, to me, it's really because the world is being globalized. So research cannot be just localized to any particular university or country, especially talents. That includes the faculty and students. They have to know what's going on around the world. So partnership is just a means to an end, to allow the people, the talent, to be aware of what's going on around the world, and that relationship will last for the rest of their career. I mean, speaking for myself, right? I'm from Hong Kong. I went to US to study now in the Middle East. You build up this network that is invaluable. For you, you get to see how other systems work. So that's one reason. The second reason is, some of these problems are universal in some sense, like sustainability, but they also have local variation and emphasis. So one can complement each other. So let's talk about Saudi Arabia, where I'm working now. So Saudi Arabia has a lot of sustainability challenges. Energy transition, there's no fresh water, really no freshwater river in Saudi Arabia, no freshwater rivers, okay? All the drinking water basically are from water desalination, okay? The climate is very harsh, as you can imagine. So it's trying to, for example, reclaim the desert. So there's an initiative called Saudi Green Initiative. It's trying to plant 10 billion trees in the Saudi desert. So those are the special challenges facing Saudi Arabia, but also it opens up opportunity to partner with other places that are this. For example, Singapore is also have water challenges. We have a lot of collaboration with Singapore. We have faculty, we have collaboration. China has been very successful in reclaiming the desert. So, this desert agriculture. So when you have a common problem, you can complement each other, then this will happen naturally. So that's my input to this. Yeah.
So may I invite Professor Gong?
Yes, maybe for mainland China, the higher education internationalization may started from 1980s when China opened its door. So from that, Peking University, of course, is the pioneer for internationalizations. Until now, we have more than 400 collaborators universities from, I think, more than 70 countries or regions. And we have tied collaborated with some excellent universities, for example, Harvard University, Cambridge University, Free University of Berlin, and of course, National University, Singapore. And also we have some center or institute established by foreign university. For example, we have Cambridge Peking University China Center in our campus, and also we have Stanford Center in our campus. And more recently, we continue to promote mutual connections. So we are actually engaged with 10 universities alliances. For example, we are in the Yalu, and also the APRU, and also something like that. And more recently, we also try to establish some alliance. For example, in November 2023, we established the DI-IDEA, so it's called Digital Intelligence International Development Education Alliance. So we gather with more than 30 universities. And so after that, we can discuss together how to face the challenge of AI and just such GDP and solar and everything. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Go. Professor Tan.
Well, I think there's no doubt that we need to collaborate because problems that we face are very broad and impacts on all of us. At NUS, we position ourselves as a global university, like many top universities. So if you look at our faculty members, about more than half of them are actually foreign faculty. So it's very natural that they carry their own connections. So 2/3 of our papers published are with a foreign author. And we collaborate with probably about 200 institutions all across the world. Right? So there is actually a very natural tendency, all right, for collaboration, and this is more at the ground level. At the more strategic university level, we encourage actually collaborations through several types of programs. One is actually to work with partners to have joint PhD programs so that our students can be co-supervised with professors from both sides, both partners, and also for students to spend time to partly in the two partner universities. So that has been a very popular program, and that's a very popular program also to deepen the collaboration between two universities. And we have more targeted ones, like our collaboration with Duke University of US, where they came over and set up a medical school at NUS, of my second medical school. But that collaboration depends very greatly on the research between Duke and US, and in fact, the SingHealth medical cluster with Duke Medicine. And that is a more targeted sort of a strategy. And we have others, like depending on where the funding comes from, we can be more strategic in how we position ourselves in terms of collaboration. But the main point is that we look for partners so that for us to come into a partnership, it will definitely be a big win-win for both of us.
Thank you. So the collaboration is natural because it's through faculty and students. Very good. Thank you. Professor Yusawa.
Okay. So I'll make a comment from the medical side. So I think global partnership is very important, especially for our university, because university is focusing on the medical, but not a comprehensive university. So basically, we need a global or domestic partnership. For example, for humanity department, we need help. And also for the innovation of the technology, we need to collaborate with Technology Institute. So basically, we need. So I think there are 2 steps to promote a global partnership. At first, I think we need to share the clear image of the collaboration with each other with global partners by leveraging of each other's strengths. So to share the clear image of the collaboration, it is the first step. And after that, we need, anyway, we need to achieve the innovation with a global partner, even if it is a small success. First step, we need to achieve the innovation. And after that, maybe we can accumulate successful experience with each other. So this process is very important, I think. So this meaning, I think, we really thanks to President Tan to accept a proposal of a telesurgery project. So I think this process is very important, I think.
So it's a win-win partnership in the end. Thank you. So maybe I'll ask some specific questions for each of you. Maybe I start with Tony. So as Saudi Arabia opens the door wider now for international collaboration with the objective to foster an innovative society. So can you share with us, the specific role that CAUS can play in this particular, national initiative? I mean, you alluded to some of this in your speech. Maybe elaborate a little bit more for us. Thank you.
Yeah, so we just announced our strategic plan. In fact, there are 2 key components. One is we need to accelerate our impact through whatever means, commercializing our research, partnership with other in-kingdom entities. The other one is to focus on these 4 RDI areas. So CAU's role is, CAUS kind of, 15 years ago when CAUS was started, there was no university like CAUS in Saudi Arabia. I would say in the Middle East. So today is different. So CAUS is looked towards as in a leadership role. We are kind of seen as the Caltech of the Middle East, if you will, okay? Without undergrads. We don't have undergrad. So you talk about these 4 RDI areas, energy and sustainability. CAUS from day one, that's our research emphasis. So we are well positioned to do that. So when these 4 new RDI areas were announced, actually we were already aligned, if you look at it. But together with that is an increased expectation. So now many of the ministries and also even the private enterprise like Saudi Aramco, they are coming to us to try to do, you heard, we're building big projects at NEOM. We're doing this carbon capture. We're doing the hydrogen economy, cracking with Aramco. So those are great things, but it needs a little adjustment from the faculty. So I think the future is very bright, but it requires the faculty to understand, right? It's not just an ivory tower you do in the lab. Not everybody had to do that. We always emphasize. The university has to align, but not every single faculty can or should align.
Sounds so exciting. So again, I'm sure some of us in the audience would love to collaborate with CAUS. And under your leadership, you led a delegation to Shenzhen and established this very important footprint in Shenzhen. I would say this is a very significant milestone for both sides, right? And you also signed MOU with some of the local institutions in Shenzhen. So what would be expected? I mean, through this kind of partnership, it's a very important partnership, and we would all love to know what we can anticipate to happen.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be glad to address it. But first of all, I say, we didn't ignore Hong Kong, okay? So let's get that out of the way. Well, Shenzhen, as I mentioned in my speech, when I was in Hong Kong for about a decade, I got to know it very well. Everybody refers to it as the Silicon Valley of China, or at least one of the Silicon Valley of China. There's like 5,000 technological companies in Shenzhen. Its GDP is much bigger than Hong Kong now. Okay, so what the purpose of we setting up a hub in Shenzhen is to bring the people from Saudi Arabia beyond CAUS. So our program allows other people. They have to go there, see it with their own eye, feel it with their work, get to know the people there, and hopefully they will bring something back to help grow the ecosystem. That's the idea. Okay, so we're only in the beginning. We already were very well received. We have a partner with several partners. One is the Innovation Academy from Professor Li Jiexiang. So we have some space from the Tsinghua. Tsinghua has a research institute in Shenzhen, so they give us some space. We have Tsinghua also has a graduate school in Shenzhen. Okay, so we partner with them about some joint degrees and so on. But we love to partner with Beida, okay? We love to partner with Beida, but they have it there. So these are based on a real mutual interest. I want to mention one more thing about partnership. So Shenzhen is in our strategic plan, So in the strategic plan, it was very clear. We need to engage with innovation hubs around the world. Okay, but if you look at science and technology, if you ask a question, in the next 10 years, where would be major centers of science and technology? My personal view is the US, okay, I would say Europe is actually a second, but US and China. So those are the two things. So we are in the Middle East, or West Asia, if you will. So we got to hedge our bet, right? We got to be invested. I'll be amazed how many Saudis are learning Chinese now. Many of them speak fluent Chinese. They were studying.
Are you the tutor?
No, I speak only about 10 words of Arabic, okay? But you get online, you will see a lot of Saudis. Even Saudi Arabia is requiring the high school to teach 2 hours of Chinese per week. Per week. That's in the last 6 months or so. I don't know where to get the teachers, because you need to speak Arabic and Chinese. It's not so easy. So we have a partnership. So it's not just Shenzhen. So I'll give you one more example, our partnership. We have a partnership with Formula One, the race car, with McLaren. So McLaren is one of 10 teams. Each team has 2 cars. So we work with them on aerodynamics, you can see. We have a supercomputer at CAUS, so we can do the simulation for them. The other one originally is fuel research. So, the fuel, and now big data, because they collect huge amount of data. I don't know whether you know, when you run the Formula One, they collect the live data and send it back to UK. It doesn't matter where it's run. They analyze the data and send the data back live in order to do that. So there's a lot of need for that, and they see us as a partner. So our logo is in the front spoiler of each of the 2 McLaren cars, okay? So this is a real partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. So maybe I turn to Professor Gong. As a key leader in higher education, Peking University certainly has a very important role to play in shaping, the academic collaborations in China. So, what is your vision? How do you see Chinese universities, shape this global partnership?
Okay, as I have just mentioned, since last century, 1918s, the government is give a lot of support for higher education. So the higher education system in China has become larger and larger. I think maybe now is the largest higher education system in the world, China. So I have some data by 2023, we have over 3,000 higher education institutes in China, and more than 47 million full-time students. Yeah, so maybe a big number. In 1918s, before COVID-19, so we have welcomed over 500,000 international students every year. Of course, after pandemics, this number is decreased rapidly, but now it's increased, but it's small, not smoothly, not so rapidly, yeah. And during past 40 years, I think the Chinese university has developed very fast, and now, of course, more and more universities enter the ranking 100, even ranking 15. So I think for our university, we are ranking above the 20th positions in the world. And of course, ranking is not the only one evaluation created, but it's just for reference. So, as I mentioned, for university, Peking University, we're always looking forward for internationalization cooperations. So after pandemics, last year, we called this year as our university's Global Engaged Year. So we have this welcome 400 delegations from abroad. So usually about everyday effort delegation to meet. And also we have sent I think 30 delegations to the world. Myself maybe have visited more than 10 times abroad. So it's a hard work for me. And I visited even the United States and Europe, Asia, therefore Japan, and also Singapore, and also a lot of countries. And we hope to establish the cooperations, because of pandemic, we just can make connection by internet, go internet or something like that. But I think face-to-face is most important. And from the visitor, I see every university wish to have China and our university to play more role in internationalizations. And also, we will try to do better than that.
Yeah, I believe many institutions would love to collaborate with Peking University, and that's why you have to host such a large number of visits. So we all know that actually Peking University has a very deep cultural heritage, right? So how do you see, leveraging on this deep cultural heritage? How would you incorporate this in the international collaboration? How do you leverage this?
I think, literature. How to say? We have a very long history of the Chinese cultures, but we always had harmonics and 和谐共生 and exist. Yeah, so just from beginning, maybe we have sent a lot of Chinese language teachers to teaching Chinese. And after that, maybe within this more 10 years, maybe more cooperation with science and technologies. And also, I think maybe we will develop these two areas together.
I definitely, I agree with you totally when you talk about the importance of humanities, the diffusion of humanities with science and technology. And I do believe that Peking University has a uniqueness in that aspect because of the deep cultural heritage. And thank you so much. And maybe I turn to Professor Tan. You, early on, you mentioned that you have established partnerships, collaborations with a large number of institutions globally. I think you mentioned more than 200 partnerships. So how would you prioritize these partnerships? There are so many, so probably you cannot work with all 250 in parallel, so how would you prioritize them?
So I was referring to that my faculty members have collaborated with academics from more than 200 institutions. So we don't control them at all. They are free to collaborate. At the more strategic level, there are universities where we have a joint PhD degree, right? And when we have this joint PhD degree, that is a more targeted type of collaboration where PhD students from both sides spend time in both sides and they have co-supervisors, right, who work on common topics. So that one, not with too many universities. I think it's about 20 to 25 universities.
So you focus on those that, in terms of the research collaboration, focusing on those that align with the strategic objectives of the university.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe I should, at one point, other than collaborations with universities, we also pay a lot of attention on collaboration with industry. Right? Because when you talk about innovation, you talk about research innovation, industry has to come in.
Yes.
All right? And we have, for instance, a program which dated way back in 2002 called the NUS Overseas College Program. The program came out because we want to expose our students, our undergraduate students, to entrepreneurship. And so we actually started by sending our students to Silicon Valley. So now my students can go to more than 20 places. Right? In North America, we have Silicon Valley, New York City, in Toronto, and we are adding Chicago this August. In Europe, we have Paris, we have Munich, we have Stockholm in Sweden, we have Oslo, Trondheim in Norway. We also have Tel Aviv and Haifa in Israel. In fact, last October, we had to scramble to pull our students out of Israel because of the Israel-Hamas war. Right. And in China, our students are present in Shanghai, Beijing, as well as in Shenzhen. Right? And we're going to add Guangzhou as well as part of the Greater Bay sort of exposure. And in Southeast Asia, we have centers in Vietnam, Thailand, in Indonesia, and we are hoping to set up in Malaysia and Philippines. And last year, I had the opportunity to visit Fujita University and the Nagoya government. So we are going to set up actually also our NOC in Nagoya and in Tokyo. So our students, we send about 400 over students, undergraduates, to these 20-odd places where they do an internship of 6 months to a year. And we are collaborating with a lot of the startups in all these innovation hubs. Tremendous experience because over the last 20 years, we graduated just about 4,000 people who have gone through this program, but they have individually set up more than 1,100 startups. Wow. And 2 of them have become unicorns.
That's wonderful.
So this is an example where we have a very structured collaboration with industry, all right, to train our students and our graduates, and they come back and build an ecosystem within Singapore.
Thank you. So when you mentioned Guangzhou, I hope you will send your students to HKUST Guangzhou campus. So.
Certainly.
Yeah. Sure.
A very quick comment. I want to give a plug to the NUS Overseas College, is what you call. Because when we were setting up our thing in Shenzhen, I talked to Heng Chai, and we talked to your director. It's amazing. He's like 20 years old. In fact, it started by Professor Prof. Shi, right?
Prof. Shi
First president at KAUST. But you have to look at it's a long-term investment. You describe all the problem in the beginning, but now it's sort of self-running.
Fantastic. So when you have all these collaborations, I mean, if you want to scale them up, have you encountered challenges when you scale them up?
Lots of challenges. Lots of challenges. But the thing is that you need to build relationships first, all right, before you want to scale up. And relationships usually take a long time to build. Relationship needs to survive past presidents and provosts because they have to be founded at the level of our professors. So the key thing in any sort of relationship is that you need to build a critical mass of professors who are committed to deepen the relationship. So like Fujita has actually, many of my colleagues you know, they are there to build the relationship, all right? It's not usually the president or the provost.
Thank you, Professor Tan. So maybe I turn to Professor Yuzawa. In your speech, you talk about the emphasis you play on international collaborations for Fujita Health University. I mean, can you elaborate a bit more on the approaches that you take to foster that kind of collaboration, you know, to prepare your students, you know, to be this kind of future-ready doctors? I mean, you mentioned the Haneda medical clinic near the airport. I mean, that's one way you can facilitate the connection with other international institutions. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on your approaches.
Well, in the basic research, we are now collaborating in the international collaboration in the brain science or infectious disease, so many. But for the international education, I think we have two advantages in the healthcare field. Because Japan, we are now facing the super aging society. So we have accumulated so many experience how to manage the healthcare issues in the super aging. So we have such kind of experience, like rehabilitation or some other things, and also disaster medicine. So we are now providing this kind of education to the Japanese student. But in the next step, we need to provide this kind of education in the interprofessional education program to the international student. But the problem is that maybe we need to reform the program into the English version. Otherwise, it has a trouble. So it takes a time, I think. And so to promote international collaboration, maybe so far during the pandemic, it's very difficult to hire some staff from the international universities. So we are now thinking that faculty exchange by using the cross appointment, it might be useful. So we are now actively thinking to hire the faculty from the foreign universities by using the cross appointment system. So this might be helpful for us, the international relations of the education or collaborative research, I think. So far, we are now thinking about this kind of...
You mean to appoint them as visiting faculty or adjunct faculty at Fujita?
Yes.
Okay. It's a very good approach. So again, in your talk, you mentioned that Fujita really values the collaboration with industry. Yeah. After all, innovation is a key driver of progress in the healthcare sector. So how do you establish this kind of partnership with industry? Do you encounter any challenges, or maybe you can share your experience with us?
So we have the advantage in our area. We have so many nice industries, basically. So we have so many collaboration with the industry, and also our chairman push about this kind of project. So we have advantage, and but so far now in our university hospital, we need some challenge to nurture the physician scientist in the future leader of our university or university hospital. So our dean, he set up the early exposure of the student for the basic research from the first grade of the medical student. So they can start the basic research from the first grade of the student, and maybe during the student, they can write a scientific paper. And after that, maybe they will be physician scientists, some of them. So I think this course is also very important for our universities.
Thank you again to all the panelists for sharing their insights with us. Maybe I'll just ask a very general last question. We all believe that technology plays a very important role in the evolution of international academic collaboration. So maybe you can share with us, how would your institution go forward in embracing technology development in terms of the international collaboration? Maybe Tony?
Yeah, just quickly, I do more Zooms than physical meetings, even within the university. Even I'm sitting at home at COUS, many of my VPs would be online. So this helps, actually. But I have one question I want to bring up for the fellow panelists and you. When you have 400 delegations and 200 partnerships, I was reminded of the minister from Kazakhstan, right? You have the partnership. So the question is, do you do it strategically? Do you do it proactively? Do you say no to some? I'm getting a lot. I don't get 400, but I get probably close to 100, okay? So you have to prioritize. You have to say no, because sometimes otherwise. So I want to know how you handle that, okay? For example, did Kazakhstan, your ministry, proactively approach this like dozen universities, or they just come to you? It sounds like you strategically approach them, right? If I understand. Am I right? Yeah. You have a mic?
Maybe you can share with us your strategy.
Extra panel discussion.
So we have 3 basic principles. It's a very strategic approach. 1, we focus on strategic partners of Kazakhstan. So if you look at them, it's Russian universities, Chinese universities, American, British, German, Turkish, and now we see Hong Kong is part of a Chinese partnership. Second principle, it's top 500 universities. We try to focus on solid research universities with engineering and research background. So if you look at them, it's Heriot-Watt, it's more technology, research, and engineering. And third principle, it's very simple. We approach those universities who have global strategies. Like Heriot-Watt, they already had global campus strategy, so we jumped on them and said, look, you have one in Dubai, you have one in Malaysia, let's have something in the middle so you could connect the dots, right? You can have a continuity in your campus's structure. So it's very tailored, very focused approach. Thank you for your question.
So I think, do you say no?
I thought they would say no, right?
They would say no. It's okay.
Thank you, Tony. Professor Gong.
Yes, I think new technology or for example, AI, we cannot avoid, it should come into our higher education, for our educations, help us for educations. As Professor Chen just mentioned, many parents and students like it much more than teachers. So, but I think the most important thing is we need to teach next generations the skill, how to learning, how to thinking, and keep a creative mind. I think that's most important. For example, when we are young, we have to calculate. So at that time, people think maybe using calculator, people do not need to learn mathematics. But in premier school, the teacher always likes students to study mathematics and mathematics using calculated. So let's go, let's skill, keep the skills.
When I was young, we didn't have calculators. We had slide rules. Seriously.
So that's the most important. The second, for teachers, for university governors. So we need to thinking how to make it fair for every people. Because my colleagues told me, when I use ChatGPT, I can make most perfect statistics than people by himself. So if one people using ChatGPT for paper, another person doesn't use it, how to evaluate it? So that's most important for teachers. Yeah. So that's why we wish to have the idea around facing such challenges. Thank you.
Very good point. Yes, Professor.
I just want to add just one point that universities don't change very fast. Right? We have lots of smart people, but the mindset doesn't change as quickly. Right? In terms of technology, I think it's, without doubt, you have to embrace new technology. But what I'm seeing these days, take the AI developments in just the last few years, it is actually all done by the tech companies, right? Not by the universities, right? And they have a different type of culture. They have huge teams, huge resources. They are able to do a very focused type of research, and their motive is really to get something which is marketable. Right? Universities are very different. They are at the other end. Right? We are actually just interested in basic knowledge. Right? I think there has to be a way to bring university academics closer to the DNA of the industry, and hopefully to bring the DNA of the industry closer to that of the academics. But they are dependent on us to provide that blue sky type of research, but they are more interested in the translation. All right. And the second thing that I think we need to change is how research interface with education. And like Professor Kong has mentioned, the importance of training and preparing our graduates, and I've also mentioned that. And if you look at my faculty members at NUS, a lot of them are already using AI in their research. But how many are actually bringing what they are doing in their research to the classroom? Fewer, right? So you need actually people to bring it from the research angle as well as people to bring it from the pedagogy angle, all right? And it has actually to bring it in such a way that it benefits our students. I think this is a challenge. The third thing I'm going to say is that we don't actually have the luxury of time for all these changes to come about. Because by the time I think we are ready to do it, my sense is that the world has moved.
No, I fully agree with that. I mean, I think for faculty, how do you provide incentives, or how do you encourage them so that they can, use the latest technology in education? Tom?
A quick reaction. So I don't think we want to minimize the role of university in developing like AI and deep learning. I mean, there are many examples. The Turing Award winners, they're all from universities. They then later on partner with industry. If you look at the people working in Google and so on, they're very often postdocs and students from these people. DeepMind, I know some of the people in DeepMind. They're from UCL, the founders. So you need to have that. Without that, it will be cut off. Things like transformers, that are used. They are the whole community. It's not just Google. So I think university key role is advancing the ideas, some of the basic ideas, also the people, the talents.
Yeah, I think they are all part of the same value chain, not segregated, but they need to work together. Fully agree. Professor Yusawa?
So the technology, the innovation is very important. So in my presentation, I showed in the medical field, there are 3 topics: robotics and remote, and also medical LLM. So I think, but this kind of technology is not omnipotent. We have so many issues that we need to overcome. So, for example, in the case of robotic surgery, when we have some trouble during the surgery, robotic surgery, who need to take responsibility about that? So the industry or university, hospital to hire the surgeons or surgeons themselves. Or if we develop the AI-assisted robotic surgery system, what is copyright? Who can take copyright of this kind of technique? The industry or surgeons themselves. It's a very naive, delicate problem. So the comprehensive universities, they can be able to find a solution by themselves, but we need a collaboration with the humanity department to find a solution about that. So in a medical field, anyway, we need international partnership to overcome this kind of technology.
Thank you so much. Again, as we conclude this panel discussion, I just want to thank all the panelists for your insightful comments and for sharing your thoughts with the audience and suggesting the path forward. And I believe this discussion really highlights the importance of international collaboration in higher education, and we'll continue to work together to contribute to society. Again, thank you so much for attending this panel discussion. I believe it's lunchtime now. Thank you.
But once again, thank you. Thank you to our panel for such an informative discussion. Now, if we may invite our panel speakers to please stand together for a photo together. Please remain on stage. 现在请各位的嘉宾先留步台上，来一张合照，看一下中间的摄影师。Please smile for the cameras at the center. Thank you once again to our esteemed panelists here for this panel, and also thank you, Minister Nuoback, for joining the discussion just now. Thank you. All right, please smile for the camera at the center. Please hold for a few more photos. 我们多来几张，好，多来一张点赞的吧。One more with a thumbs up. And to commemorate this important panel discussion about partnership for higher education. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please return to the comfort of your seats. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll now have our lunch time. So please enjoy lunch. Ready to enjoy the afternoon session of our summit, relax and recharge. And our next session for the summit will resume at 2 p.m. So please join us back here at 2 o'clock and we'll see you later. Thank you.
Education is more than the acquisition of knowledge.